Okay, we're fucking live again.
Yes.
All the lifeless wonders that are going to be flowing in and out of here tonight on a Friday because they don't have a life just like all of us.
Yeah, well, you know, someone has to do something.
We did. We've got a couple things that you fuckers have all done some reading apparently this past week, and have come up with different things you'd like to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just for the project I'm working on. I started rereading this memoir by a controversial figure, Heinrich Severlo, and this World War II memoir, and it had a chapter in it that I immediately thought of this gaggle here because it's about this World War II veteran attending a reenactment event in the 1980s. And
yeah,
I thought y'all would
how do you spell his name? I'm trying to look him up because I've never heard of him before.
Heinrich, just
yep,
that one I got. And then Severlo is Severloh. Excuse me.
Okay,
it's right there on the top right there. Now this guy was at Omaha Beach on D-Day. And he claims to have fired an MG-42 for like 9 hours. Now, that whole thing, in my opinion, is very kind of like, because he claims he killed like 2,000 people, and there's no way that, one man did that. And also, I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not he even fired an MG-42 or not. But that's a whole other can of worms. The fact was that he was there, though, during World War II, and he would have been there. And there's no denying that. It's just some of the things he claims to have done are a little kind of, they're not entirely, like bullshit, but there is a little bit like, there's a little to be skeptical there. However, there is a chapter later on because after the war, he started to kind of come around in the 1960s as, being known for this. And so, media attention started to kind of go around him. And by the 1980s, different, organizations and such knew about him. So this one
autobiography.
What's that?
This is an autobiography, or
this is his autobiography. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know if it was like The Signal with what was that book they made, the two of them, D-Day the Germans As.
Oh yeah, Paul Carroll. He mentions that in this, so that he was actually he actually did send letters to that author. But this, on the other hand, so at some point in the 1980s, there was this organization in England that was, I don't know if it was necessarily a reenactment group. Its name is a mouthful. It's right in here. It's called the Association for the Rehabilitation of the Honor of the German Wehrmacht Soldiers. That's the full name of it. Yeah. And so it seems as though it was like an organization to try to respect the German army or something, or try and, make them not look so devilish. I don't know, but it's very interesting. So this was he was invited at one point to go like spend an evening with them at this ceremony. So I will read, this is about, 4 pages long. I will read this to you guys, and you can all jump in with your thoughts and things like that, including the people in the chat. Okay. On November 16th, 1984, I flew to England to the Association for the Rehabilitation of the Honor of the German Wehrmacht Soldiers. The association had, meanwhile, written me in Germany, and I was interested in what was going on with them. When I arrived at the London airport, I was astounded. A member of this curious organization was waiting for me there with a car, dressed quite publicly in a German Wehrmacht uniform of a simple private first class. This is a translated version, obviously.
Yep.
But without the service cap. A silver infantry assault badge was displayed on his uniform, and a gold close combat badge.
Yes, here we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had known that in England and the United States, there were associations whose members dressed up as members of the German Wehrmacht, play-acted with rifles and machine guns, and even drove around in old German cars. But it had not been at all clear to me until my meeting with this club what these activities were. But I had no idea how awful it would become.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So off to a good start. In the VW Kubelwagen that picked me up, there was another man who introduced himself as FW. Now, F has ellipses after it, and W has ellipses after it. So this guy's name has been censored.
Yeah,
he just goes,
yep.
Just goes by FW. And he wore civilian clothes. He spoke fluent German and explained to me that he was a former German citizen, served as a soldier in the war, and was taken prisoner by the English. He had stayed in Great Britain after the war and taken a new name. After a short ride in the car, he had the, quote, PFC stop, excused himself for a moment, took a large bag from the back seat, and disappeared into a public toilet in the middle of the city. After a while, the vehicle door was opened and Mr. W got back in, now in the smart uniform of a German captain of the Wehrmacht. His jacket was decorated with the EK2 ribbon and an EK1 ribbon, a silver infantry assault badge, a black wound badge, and a clasp with a number of service decorations. I had fallen in with a circle of great heroes, ellipses. See,
so far, everything's tracking. Everything's tracking so far.
Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, been there before."
Yep.
A little later, the meeting room of this. A little later, we entered the meeting room of this dubious association. A lieutenant, in quotes, in a German dress uniform with a parade sash instead of a belt and a sword with a knot at the hilt, shouted, "Attention!" At his command, 20 men sprang from their chairs and stood at attention. Then another command, "In honor of Gefreiter Heinrich Saverlo, present arms." And other, quote, soldiers in helmets formed up in two ranks, presented arms. It seemed to me as though I had been caught up in the midst of the pieces of a military museum coming to life. Next paragraph. At a long table that was formed a large closed rectangle stood uniformed Englishmen in Wehrmacht uniforms bedecked with decorations. In the middle of this rectangle, there was a table on which there were two German rifles and an MG-42. In two corners of the hall, various large German battle flags with swastikas and iron crosses were draped. And on the table, there were a quantity of beer bottles. This was the moment when I should have turned and left, but my curiosity to see what would happen next was greater.
Curiosity.
Yeah, definitely tracking. Yeah,
it's like Gap. It's like 40 Intel Gap.
Dude, there was really quick. Did you ever hear about, Trey, that 12th SS unit that was up in my neck of the woods there in Minneapolis, around that area? That they had this ball, I guess, this party, like this formal event where they wore their fucking uniforms and they had Allgemeine uniforms and shit.
Oh shit!
And, like, they go into this like hall and there's like the Nazi banners all in this hall in this like dining room, and they're all sitting there and they're saying Sieg Heil, like doing the whole thing, dude, in this thing. And a lot of the staff that was like doing this at like a kind of an upscale place happened to be Jewish. So they raised question with this, and they were doing like the fucking SS, like the ritualistic shit at this dining thing. And it was really creepy, apparently. And they were doing like just ridiculous shit. Made national news, of course. And then they had to stop doing that. And a guy that I know, actually, the Young Turds asked him for a comment, and he decided to comment, which was dumb, and he'll never do that again. And said that, well, yeah, what they did may have been a little bit cringe, but like in reenacting, you got to have the bad guy. It's like when you're little and you play cowboys and Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that to the Young Turds, right?
Sure.
Not good. And they were like, what do you mean? And he's just like, oh God. Anyway, that made national news. So if that made national news, and that was one of the most egregious ones, this shit goes on all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of these reenactors, so-called, that do SS that are kind of what I would consider what you would call believers.
Closeted Nazis.
Lost
not even closeted. Not even closeted.
Yeah.
Well, you had that one group in at 40 Indian Gap years ago. They had like a veteran come out and they gave him like a whole torch parade. Like they had tiki parties or whatever.
Good Lord.
It was cringe, dude.
Well, we're not done yet. So do you want to continue?
Sure,
Yeah, I just know where this is going. This is beautiful. I love this. I love this.
All right, cool. Continuing. Another, quote, officer came forward and saluted me, then saluted the, quote, captain, who returned the salute, and then there was much saluting to give the whole thing a smart, disciplined, and German military character. The seat to which I was shown in the middle of one of the ends of the rectangular table was marked by a 2-meter high and 1.5 meter wide board that had been adorned with the Wehrmacht insignia and the insignia of my former division. Above, in large letters, was written 352nd Infantry Grenadier Division, and underneath, erroneously, 3 Hitler Youth bicycle pennants. It's interesting. The, quote, officers of the association took their places next to me. The lieutenant noticed that I could barely suppress laughing and asked me in an offended manner, "Tell me, are you laughing at us?" "No, Herr Leutnant," I replied. "I am simply imagining that when I return to Germany and explain what I experienced here, no one will believe me."
Yeah.
Continuing. There was a long and nonsensical speech. Then I was asked how it had gone back then, on D-Day, at WN 62, and I saw that I was being asked to make some remarks on it. After which I was to give the, quote, Wehrmacht comrades in their waxworks an explanation of the functioning of the MG42. I immediately refused this, since I was no longer prepared to take hold of such a terrible killing machine ever again. Then came the highlight of this dubious performance. The English Wehrmacht comrades had read in some or another books or magazines that I had been wounded twice on June 6th, 1944, and since, on account of my imprisonment, I had never received a wound badge, so they would award it to me now.
Oh!
Nice.
Yes! Oh, fuck.
I know, right? It was hardly to be believed, but I actually received a small carton with the black decoration and with an original award document in the name of the Fuhrer and the Supreme Commander of the Wehrmacht, signed F.W., self-appointed captain of the Company of Command, Commander of Grenadier Regiment 916 of the 352nd Infantry Division. The document bore the date in the field, June 6, 1944, and was stamped with a seal of the 352nd Infantry Division with a Reichsadler and swastika.
Doesn't get much more cringe than that.
I know, right? It's unbelievable.
I'm sure it can.
I'm sure it's going to. This is just a downward spiral into facepalm.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Before my return to Germany, the next day, we all visited the Invasion Museum in Portsmouth that had been dedicated by the British Queen on June 6, 1984. The members proudly wore the insignia of the 352nd Division on their shirts. They really did believe this was an elite unit, which had been incorrectly described by many Americans. When I was flying back to Germany, I asked myself if these people actually were clear about what they were doing. Quite clearly, they had not grasped at all that we had been following false ideals that had plunged our entire world into a terrible catastrophe. Whatever attitude an individual takes toward the Third Reich, the Wehrmacht, and the war is solely his own complete personal affair. I don't mind if he thinks he has to play at being a Wehrmacht soldier, for I am not writing this book to moralize, but rather to describe my own very personal experiences. What a reader draws from my account and my completely subjective approach is also completely up to him. But perhaps a Wehrmacht reenactor would think differently if he had done what I did and saw what I saw. And that's it.
Yep.
Unbelievable, right?
No, I mean, it is. That's what's sad is it's.
Yeah.
People do weird shit, man. Like, it's. There's a reason I don't dabble in that community really anymore.
Right. And I never really have, but every time I get close to it, it is always something like that, you know?
Yeah, it's a thick line going from Wehrmacht to SS. I've seen it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
very, very weird. But then again, like some of the nicest people I've ever met did SS.
for sure. And that's the thing is it's just a few people that I've met.
Yep.
That it's like.
Yep.
what are you doing here, bud? You're not a bad person, but you're just weird. Like so there's the 12th SS unit up near where I'm at. When my buddy and I did an event back in like 2016 or somewhere around there, and we did Romania in World War II, Eastern Front, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just being hipsters and kind of trolling, but it was fucking cool. And the 12th SS guys had their little camp. They had their little Zelt tents up and all that shit, you know, their little fucking command tent. And then they had, next to their little camp, they had a bunch of like fake gravestones with iron crosses on them.
Oh.
And I was like, this is interesting. So my buddy and I went over, or Dakota, I can say it because he's been on live streams before. Dakota and I are walking around in our Romania shit. We're like, looking at each other like, a little creepy, isn't it? Like just a little. Am I being over the top? Am I being kind of fucking sensitive or whatever? But no, it's like, he goes, oh, this is fucked. They had like names on there on these gravestones and like dates that they died and shit, and they had like, oh, it was just fucking bizarre. And I mean,
it depends on the
yeah, go ahead.
It depends on the context. Like if you go to Conneaut, they've got, well, I don't think they do it no more, but they had the grave registration. That was cool because you get to see a different impression doing a registration. Sure. But yeah, like having like just like it's not hot. It's not Halloween, man. It's
precisely
to a degree. It's disrespectful.
Uh-huh.
Like you're just making like a little side joke of, you know, hey, oh, that's Jim and Heinrich, and over there he's dead.
Yep.
Well, as you know, as I say a lot when it comes to people with this stuff, it's when they start to really like see it as mythology rather than history. You know, it's like they start to see it as like some idiot cosplaying for, you know, Star Wars or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
like this, you know, real shit that we're talking about here.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it also gives like the public did the same thing there. I saw a lot of people because we were kind of across the little road from them.
Mm-hmm.
And when the public was walking around, they were looking, and I just saw people like, you know, pointing like, what the fuck is this? You know, I'm like, oh, I'm like, this ain't good. It makes sense. I mean, we're already fucking nerds, and then it makes everybody that is showing up to that event, they're like, oh, if this is what these guys do, these all must be fucking weirdos, you know? And we are, but like,
it's in every hobby though. Like even in the Civil War, you see shit like that too. Like they'll put out like a dead body, like a dummy, and they'll put like dumb shit, like, you know, here. Like from Tombstone, you know, here lies Lester Moore, Forrest Luckman 44, no less, no more. Shit like that. It's just
fucking weird.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's yeah.
I one time attended something with Mike that was pretty funny. I won't say whose it was, but that was a kind of a thing where every time it was just you and I was just kind of like, this is funny.
Was that the one in October?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then there was also I won't say names either with this one. There was also one that prior to our film that you and I attended for that little thing. Well,
that's the one I'm talking about when it was just you and me. And
yeah.
Is that the one you were talking about, or were you talking about a different one where you were like?
No, when you said October, I thought you meant the other one. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. You went down there again.
Yeah. But no, the one where it was just you and I, and then just every time it was just us, we were just like, this is funny.
Right, because we were the only fucking Americans there.
Right.
But no, it was a good time. Those guys they're not like bad. They're not cringe at all. Like they do their best. But there's a few of the younger ones that take it like really seriously. I'm like,
it usually, now that you say that, it usually is the younger cats that go like behind closed doors or out in the field, you know, hide Hitler. It's like, dude, no one's paying attention. Why are you doing this?
They weren't doing that as much. They were just like, I don't know. They were just like really fucking like a real new soldier. They're just really fucking full of piss and vinegar and gung ho, except when you're in the actual army, it's more understandable. But like when you're just playing it,
when you and I were taken prisoner, this guy was like screaming in our faces. Like,
he was
because
screaming at you because you were just like, no.
Well, because I was pretending that I didn't know German, and this guy's, and I just came out like this, and I wasn't even like, he was like, he was like saying, get on the ground in German, and I just wasn't doing anything. I was just like, don't shoot. I don't think I even said anything. And then he came up and like grabbed my shoulder and like threw me to the ground.
Oh, was that the one who, yeah, I know who that was. That was the hardcore guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw him later on. Yeah.
Yep. I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, he came up to me later too. And he was like kind of in a joke. He was like, hey man, you okay after I did that to you? It's like, I get it. You think you're cool, Right. Yeah. Yeah. He like dropped you down and it's like, he threw me into the ground. Yeah. Which is, I didn't care, but it was just like, I mean, I've never heard of
where we were at and like how small and private and like not serious that whole thing was.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dude, what the fuck?
Right. Well, at the same time too, it's like, back then guys didn't get on their knees if they were taken prisoner. That's like a modern day thing that police do. And I've seen that people do stuff like that, like, get on your knees. And it's like, no, they just would have taken him to the side. They wouldn't have made him get on his knees. So I wasn't going to get on my fucking knees.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. God, I really want to mention what happened. That whole thing about, because again, this guy is not a bad dude. He's
not. I don't have anything against him. I don't,
I can take, it's one of those people that's like, you stay on your end of the playground, I'll stay on mine. We're good to go. Got nothing against you. Just,
he was a fan of yours. He came up, he's like, oh, you have some of my stuff. Yeah.
No. That was the kid that
was him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was, oh yeah, that one. He comes up, he goes, yeah, you got about so many or X amount of dollars of mine. And I'm like, I don't owe anybody money. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Again, yeah.
I'm like, you want to try that again? Like, first thing he says to me is, you've got a bunch of my money over the years. And I'm like, okay. And then I buy stuff from you. I'm like, okay, well, why did you say, hey, I buy shit from your store? Instead of like, you owe me money. I'm like, oh God, am I going to have to fight this fucking guy? Like, what are you doing here? Like, God.
But learn today.
You go learn today. But yeah, it was that kid. That fucking. Oh, I thought you meant the other one that carries a knife everywhere.
No, not that guy.
Okay.
He's yeah, no, this other guy he was the one who slammed me down because he had like a really loud voice, and when he was doing that, he was like screaming at me, and it's like
in a really shitty German accent.
In really shitty German, and I'm just like, really, dude, we don't need to play this up. There are no cameras around. Like, what are you doing?
That's exactly the thing.
Yeah.
Like, good God.
Well, it's like you said earlier. It's role playing to them. They're fantasizing about it.
Well, right. Yeah. Well, exactly. That's the thing is they're like trying to live a fantasy. And I mean, the one guy, like when I was quote unquote wounded or whatever, he came out to me, one of the older guys.
Yep.
And he's just like asking me questions and shit, and I wasn't answering them.
Right.
And he's just like, okay, he's not going to talk. Fuck it. Get the weapons off of him. Whatever. It's like, yeah, that's really easy. Like that was cool. When you're playing ball, it's fun, Yeah. So, shit.
Jake, do you do any kind of reenacting? Have you ever done? No. Never.
To me, it sounds like these, especially the SS guys that are maybe closeted actual SS types. To me, it sounds like they're more like furries at a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Well, not to put them all into the same group, because like I said, I've known one or two groups, and like the one that I know, the majority of them, they are just wonderful, great guys. They are. They
just want to be authentic. Yeah, and that's a lot of.
And I've never heard of cuss or anything. They're awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a majority of more other units that are cringe. They're just, all out about their role playing, fantasizing about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's literally what it is, and whatever. It's easy to just kind of just say, yeah, hey, again, you stay on your end of the playground, I'll stay on mine.
Mm-hmm.
But it also like usually those units when you're out there like popping caps and shit, when you're doing like stuff for the public or whatever, they're the ones who just never die and they have unlimited ammo and they're like 2 feet away from you firing at you and you're like, okay, I guess I'm dead.
And it's usually those same guys. They've got like a big unit and they have all the vehicles and shit.
Yeah,
so they think the Florida Guard Op 4 guys at Blanding.
Yeah, they just invincible and they won't play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys fucking sucked.
Yeah, their whole
There's-
fucking
there's-
base sucked.
There's quite a few units like that. They've got all the toys, and they're like, well, we can't do nothing wrong because we bring all these toys. It's
Yeah, you can't tell us
aggravating.
what to do. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'll
Yeah.
burn that vehicle to the ground. I'll burn it in place. Like you won't ever fucking see it again if you keep up this shit.
Yeah, there's no humble,
Yeah.
most of them. But honestly, there's some that I've messed around with, hung out with, and fell in with. They're really great people, great groups.
Oh fuck yeah! There's a decent amount of good reenactors. My number is I don't get along with about 85% of reenactors. That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
And then of the last 10%, I'm like, I can get along with you at events just fine. We're good to go. We're not friends. Really don't mind. I wouldn't hang out with you outside of an event. Put it that way. But really not bad.
Kind of
at
like
events.
a coworker that you actually get along with.
Sure, exactly. There you go. And then there's about 5% where I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking hang out with you outside of the hobby. I'll talk with you. I'll have fun, all that shit. But that's 5% of a very small population. Not a lot of peeps, but they are really cool though, because it's like-minded people that are just fun to be around. And that's kind of the big perk of the hobby is when you do find that group of people that are really cool and you get along with, it's really fun. And here's the thing is it's good for people if you want to blow off steam, you want to play army, and you want to not really care about authenticity and just go out and pop caps and have fun and drink beer and make stupid decisions and get arrested for underage drinking and punching people and all that stuff. Hey, there's groups for that, and you can enjoy that. If you just want to hang out and be responsible, be an adult, and then teach people that don't know much about history while you're wearing all this nerd shit, that's also a group you can find and hang around with, and it's very fun to be around them. So there's something for everyone in the hobby, but
yeah, it all goes back to vet the unit that you're. Don't let them vet you as much. Vet them.
Yeah,
figure out what they're about first.
Yep. Yeah, because that's the thing is my group for World War One. It was all about. I was like, we don't really care about doing the whole pop and caps thing. We just want to teach people.
Yeah,
like living history. Like that was our jam. And because I mean, like half of us were combat vets, and it's like that shit.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy that or the guys that weren't the kind of guys that were kind of douchey about I want to go out and play army and play blanks. When we did, like when we were requested, we brought the fucking sauce. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like that's why we didn't. We went to events to teach people, and especially like the kids. They'd bring like kids on a field trip to this museum down in Rockford, Illinois. And it was so cool to see like hundreds of kids running around, and most of them don't give a shit and they're just asking the dumb questions, whatever. But you get the couple kids that like really find something and they'll ask a really good question. And you're like, oh, excellent. And you're excited. And all of a sudden you see that spark. That's how I got into it, man. Like when I was a kid, we were driving up to the North Shore of Minnesota and we stopped at this fucking fort. That's like a early 19th century, like fur trading fort. And there were dudes up there cooking wild rice over a fire in a cast iron pot, right? Or like a cauldron. And they're making some wild rice dish that was like of the era, just the way they would over a fire and everything. And they were wearing this cool shit. And I'm like, this is awesome. It was so cool. And they were so nice. And that's what I remember because that stuck with me. And I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, maybe 5.
That was about the age I was when I first saw my first reenactment. I was just hooked.
Oh yeah,
but as far as y'all's experience, I think I found more that I get more interesting and in-depth questions from kids than adults.
Yeah,
because they're not really super like apprehensive. Like if they wanna ask a question, they're gonna ask a fucking question. They're not gonna care about if they sound retarded or
I was just gonna say that.
Right. Yeah. They're just gonna ask, and it's like I got hit with a couple questions where I'm like, holy shit, I know that because I'm an idiot and that's all I do. And but I'm like, that is something if I hadn't have gotten lucky that night and stumbled across this, I wouldn't have the answer to it. It's fucking awesome.
Right.
So, and then also there was questions where they stumped me. I'm like, I don't know. And then you go home and you research it. It's like, I just learned from a 5-year-old today.
But some of the dumber questions, you get from like the adults, like
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. Well, I imagine that like a lot of the quote the adults, like the older guys, wouldn't want to necessarily ask a lot of questions because they want to project the image that they already know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I think. But kids, on the other hand, are curious little guys, and they want to know everything. You know, they want to find out shit. So
Yeah, he, like some of the dumb ones, like, is that a real fire?
Yeah, well, I actually sell merch with that fucking thing on it.
is
Really?
that a real fire?
Have you seen? You haven't seen BoomerandSons.com?
He's got his own
I've seen that,
clothing
but I
line.
haven't gone through all of it.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's one that's got a kit price. Is that a real fire? I want to wear that I want to wear that as a guest to a reenactment.
What? Oh God, yes, that'd be awesome.
That's what I want to do someday. Yeah.
One of the
Ask them if
ones-
they actually built the fire using period correct methods.
Yeah,
That's a
one of
valid
the
question, but like, is that a real fire? Yeah.
one of the worst ones I've heard though was like you go to like a reenactment near a battlefield, and you know, how did all of these battles take place on national park property, or how did these statues on park property not get shot up during the battle? And just
Are
the
you
real
shitting
question.
me?
No, people,
Oh,
these people vote and have driver's license.
I know. It's awesome. I love it. And yeah, I think. Oh my God! So for World War One, you know, you got the gas mask bag right here, the SBR bag.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like we would like just take bets at the beginning of the day, how many times we would get asked certain questions. Is that a feed bag around your neck?
No.
Yes,
one of
it's
them-
full of oats, and I get
Well, yeah.
hungry often.
Yep. And then why, like, because the putties, the leg wraps, why are you wearing your socks on the outside?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, these are pretty fucking long socks, right? Like,
You know, it is funny to like for guys like us to think about that, but then you also think that someone who has like no fucking realm
Right.
of any of that stuff, it is like, yeah, they probably would ask questions like that, you know, like they're not
Yeah.
going to know what the hell a putty is, you know.
yeah, they definitely do. And then God, what were some? Oh yeah, fucking great for World War One. Isn't that hot? Are you hot?
I'm in 10 layers of wool. Yes, of course I'm hot.
Fuck.
And it's July.
Right.
we literally did in 2015. We did a thing at historic Fort Snelling in St. Paul, and it was the first like World War One weekend they were gonna have there, and it was Labor Day weekend, and it was like 95 fucking degrees and humid as shit, and all of us World War One guys are sitting there, the Germans too, in full fucking wool and all of our gear and shit, and I'm just like, this fucking sucks. This sucked because we weren't moving, you know, so it wasn't like cooling us down. It was just like we were standing in a spot doing living history. They had this above ground trench display because you can't dig in the historic site, obviously, and so
Yeah.
they had this above ground trench display. We were just sitting there to get the fuck out of the sun. And I'm like, oh God. They're like, are you hot? I'm like, to the one guy, I was like, does a Tin Man have a sheet metal cock? I just had had enough.
And Brendan, yes, I have actually heard people ask about the monuments of the battlefield, why they were not shot during the battle. Yes.
Oh my God, dude.
Yes.
No, we're not just saying these. Like, we've been asked these
Yeah,
questions.
we've been asked. Yeah.
See, like that one though is like, are you really that stupid? You know?
Yes. And like Trey said, they vote and drive.
Those are the same people who cut me off on the road today, pulling a fucking trailer with a side by side quad on it.
Well, they stopped on a dime though. I mean, come on, let's be honest. But no, like I could kind of understand like some of the dumber ones, but like they're repetitive to us. So they're like,
Oh yeah,
but
they
like,
stick.
did y'all sleep out here tonight? 'Cause we
Right.
got tents
Yep.
out. Now,
Where'd you guys
that's-
sleep?
That's
Yeah.
a fair question because some of the older guys who come out in the hobby, they pitch a tent, but they go to a hotel room because they've been like, I've been doing this for 30, 40 years. I'm not doing this no more. Like I'll put my
Yep.
stuff out here. So that's a valid question, but as it gets repetitive, like the fucking Grand Ping getting people killed, it's repetitive, so it's annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you get like the monuments questions and shit. You're like, yeah, it's just the day. Yeah.
Yep, chewing on your fingers. Yep.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, chewing fingers and cool. 45 to zigzag.
Fuck. But I mean, it's a fun thing, and if it, Here's the problem that I had, and I made videos about this a few years ago, and I was more passionate about it. But bringing it back to that whole historic Fort Snelling thing, awesome fucking venue, by the way. Great place. If you're in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul metro area, and you've never been to historic Fort Snelling, if they're still running shit, really cool place. They've got it really well maintained, and it actually has a lot of history to it. It's very cool. So the problem that I had is the Minnesota Historical Society is the one who owns all these historic sites around the state. And so, for example, on the First World War I days, they said the Germans can be there, but they have to wear the Pickelhaube or a field cap. They can't wear the Stahlhelm. I was like, well, why the fuck? Because they're like, because it looks too much like a Nazi helmet.
The Stahlhelm is the helmet that they used for the majority of the war.
Yeah.
Right. Well, right. And all the guys that were there were late war because they were our counterparts. Like they were the guys that the Americans, whatever.
Yeah, because the Americans weren't there until 1917.
Right. And so
the Pickelhaube wasn't being used in 1917.
Correct. And so we raised issue with that. And then it was funny because there was some people there, like guests. It was a huge turnout. It was actually a really big success that first year. A lot of the guests were oddly from Germany. And they even knew, they go, why is he wearing the Pickelhaube? And we're like, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So we explained it to them. They go, but that's not correct. My grandfather was a Stahlhelm. And they were like mad about it. They're like, but it's not correct. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We know. And they're like, well, screw the rules. Can we get the picture? We put the Stahlhelm on really quick and then whatever. Like, if you get in trouble, we will tell them to fuck off. So the Germans would throw their Stahlhelm on. They throw their Stahlhelm on and get a picture with these German people who were on vacation or something. And they were like, your uniform looks impeccable. It's really good. Because it looks like what my grandfather and my great grandfather wore and all that stuff. And then it was funny because one of the dudes, he was one of the people that came there was he was Jewish, but his great grandfather was in the Imperial German Army and fought in the First World War. And he said, well, that's a stupid thing. He's like, it doesn't look like a Nazi helmet. It's totally different. He's like, and also it's what they wore. It's historically accurate. Why would you, and so he was mad. So we raised this issue up and they just fucking dug their heels in. And so then the next year we did that, there was a huge turnout again, a bigger turnout, because people were like, you never see a World War I event. And it's really fucking cool. And it was just awesome. Still couldn't wear the Stahlhelm. So the Germans kind of started wearing them because they got more requests for them and shit. Well, one of the people from the Historical Society was there, a couple people, and they saw them. They nixed the Germans being there. They're like, nope, they're banned. And so we were like, fuck it, I'm done going then. As an American, I'm not doing that. And so they lost like a good chunk of the late war, like actually in theater. Because the guys that worked at the fort, they were just wearing they were doing drills and shit, like how they would do in training at the stateside. And then when they got to France initially, so they're wearing like the flannel undershirt with a cartridge belt, gas mask, and helmets, and then mostly soft caps, right? And that's what the staff was wearing. We were the only ones that were actually kitted out as like what they would have been like on the front lines in mid-1918 onward. And so the people were all like, well, why aren't they wearing all that stuff? It's like, well, that's what they wore in training. And then when they got there, they had all this French shit. They had to carry more gear because they had more equipment, more things, blah, blah, blah. And so they liked us. And then when we just stopped showing up, apparently they stopped the event or whatever after that. So it's like,
that happens a lot.
Yeah. And it's like, well, we're not going to play games. We're not going to play games with stupid fucking political shit like that. It makes absolutely no sense. You do not fucking whitewash and rewrite history just because one person bitched about it when it's unfounded.
It was probably some Karen on the board of directors who didn't know anything about history who bitched about it. It was probably none of the people visiting.
Well, what had happened is at a World War II event, like, I don't know, it was just a couple of years before we did that. There was an SS unit there, and some people bitched about it. Some of the guests or whatever bitched about the SS guys being there because they were Jewish or whatever, some kind of excuse.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not historically accurate or anything.
Right.
It didn't fucking happen.
Right. I guess it just didn't happen because it's uncomfortable, So basically most of history didn't happen.
Yeah. History's not supposed to be uncomfortable. Didn't they teach you that in high school?
Right. But yeah, anyway, so we quit doing that and fucking around with them, and they ended up, I think, shitting in the event. But it's like I will not abide for that. Like I just don't. I can't deal with that rewriting his. Just like okay, so Trey with the Civil War shit, right? Especially in the past few years with the Confederate shit. It's like,
Oh my god.
like
2020
dude,
with all the Confederate statues.
So, well, not just that, but I mean, like the park up the road here, they don't want the battle flag being on the park because which that was the flag that was there.
why?
They don't want visitors coming to the park and being upset.
Well, they don't go to the fucking park. You should be upset that 500,000 or what was it, 600,000 fucking Americans died on those grounds in a matter of a few days. That's what you should be upset about. Not
I think it's political pressure because it's a federal park, so the federal, they have to bow down to
yeah.
Yeah, so
I suppose
it's political.
Oh,
But like going
Congress
back
shall
to
make no law abridging the freedom of speech or free expression.
expression's actually not in the First Amendment, but hey,
Yeah,
it's implied.
I know, but
It's
yeah.
implied.
So going back to I'll show you. So this video we took at I'm not gonna say the name of the park, but this was a cool event. It was amazing. We brought the tank out, and Jeeps were brought out too by the people themselves. I mean, we got some good shots, amazing shots and whatnot. So to save money, we were like, hell, we'll cook out ourselves. We brought like a little Coleman stove and whatnot. That's gravel. That's gravel. So we put the stove in the middle of the gravel because we were cooking near the tank, and they're like, no open fires. It was a Coleman stove, whatever. So we, mind you, the guy in the coax right there,
yeah,
he's a professional firefighter. He's a lieutenant on the fire department. So he's like, all right, we'll move it to the gravel. They came out like, no open flames. So they shut the event down, and they were like, all right, well, we will come back then. So the next year they didn't even do the event. The event hasn't happened since then.
So yeah, so now they don't have awesome stuff.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, it's because of some stupid rule.
Well, there's no World War II event at all no more. So they were like, we'll just do like wedding venues and stuff. So it's like, all right, cool. That's fine.
Okay, have fun with that.
Yep. Absolutely no mention of the fact that those guys cooked on the fucking tank in World War II.
Right.
Yeah. So
and the tanks were almost always covered in petroleum products.
They treated us like crap. So we're not coming back.
Yep.
So
that's exactly it.
Once that started going down, then other units started here, and they're like, what is this? Like we spent, I think it was, we brought the tank for free, but the travel bringing the tank was like $3,000 or something.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Like,
they didn't even pay for it. We're like, all right,
dude.
Cool.
Here's the thing: is reenactors will gladly show up to a place after they've put $5,000 into their personal impression and countless other thousands of dollars into vehicles and other like crew served equipment and all that shit. Will gladly show up and teach people and put on a fucking cool show, right?
Yep.
No payment required. People actually reenactors will pay to go to an event to make sure that piece of land and the property and the people who work there can stay in business, stay afloat, and all that stuff. That's fine. Why in the fuck does it seem like a good idea to get people who are volunteering and most of the time paying to go to your event to attract more people who pay money for your event? Why the fuck do you think it would make sense to treat them like shit and then wonder why your events flop and you lose money?
Power trip, or I don't know.
It's just idiocy. I mean, it's just fucking retardation. And it's just so fucking, it just baffles me. Like how, and
it's the safety liability culture.
Yeah,
if you watch any amount of British TV, like the fucking safety liability culture over in Britain is just fucking insane. They they literally can't do anything outside without having a 2-hour long safety meeting where everybody has to wear hard hats and fucking high visibility vests and steel toed boots.
I suppose.
It's all about fucking insurance companies.
You got to take off or something?
Yeah, I gotta hit it. Unfortunately, I'd stay on, but I gotta hit this. You gotta have this dinner, so I gotta go.
Have fun. Thanks for showing up. That was a fucking funny story.
Yeah, I know. I thought you guys would like that.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you guys too. I'll see you on another one here soon.
All right, we'll take it easy, bud.
Later, guys.
Bye. Yeah, it is that, and it's gotten bad in the U.S. It's still on. We're always about 7-8 years behind the worst of it in Europe, and it's getting there. Pretty soon they're not even going to have reenactments. Like there was one place, God, where the fuck was it? That they didn't want any guns brought in, any live firearms, and I'm like, it's a reenactment. You're going to have live. They're like, no, either they're befongs or they're replicas. It's like
there's one place near me that I go to. I don't want to say its name because I love the place. They don't want you to bring the blanks. Like not like they don't want you to have them at all.
No
like,
munitions
not
at all. Yeah.
Not you have dummies like dummy rounds, but obviously for obvious reason no live ammo, but no blanks. They don't want you having your foot locker nowhere.
And I just want to be clear too. The reason I did name Fort Snelling, the historic Fort Snelling, is because it's not the staff who works there who make these decisions.
Yeah.
It's the Minnesota Historical Society. So if you want to blame somebody, blame those fucking idiots. Staff there was on board with, hey, it's World War I. You guys know your shit. Thank you so much for coming. They gave us lunch and everything. Like they treated us really well. Now the Historical Society made all these fucking rules, and these guys, in order. They get paid by them, so that's their boss. They had to comply, and it's like, well, shit, So I don't blame the staff at Fort Snelling at all. They're really good people who work there, and that's why I encourage people to go there. They're basically a War of 1812 fort, like that's their primary thing. If you go there, and it's really fucking cool. They've got a cannon that'll fire. It's really sweet that what they have there, and a lot of cool history. But they primarily focus around when it was built. And what would have been the first war that it was involved in. And it sits at the mouth of the Minnesota River where it meets the Mississippi River. That was a very important northern access point during the War of 1812 because they thought the Brits were going to fucking just steamroll up the Mississippi, the Mississippi, and then go all the way north and cut the entire United States off into Canada. So they were building all these forts, and this was one of the northernmost where there was two big rivers that came together. And it's sitting right on the corner, which is fucking awesome. And they've kept it up. They've taken care of it and renovated it to be historically accurate. Really great place. So yeah, but it's just the politics at the very high echelon level of the organization that owns this place that fucking sucks. And it ruined a really cool and super popular dude. Even the event, the people that worked there were like, yeah, people were coming up to us all day saying, holy crap, this is awesome. We've never seen World War I like in person. It's always black and white photos or videos. That's all you ever see about World War I. They're like, I didn't know this. This was so cool. This was just amazing. And they had every kind of thing there. They had people that were doing like quartermaster, all that shit. Like it wasn't just infantry stuff. We were out there because we were all the young guys that looked the part and everything. And a lot of the older guys were going, okay, here's how mail was distributed, that kind of shit in the buildings and stuff. And then it was just awesome the way they did it. We did a weapons demo and that was fun as shit. And then, that got shut down. And it was like that was going to be a fucking awesome event because more people came, more reenactors came the second year and more people got into World War I because they were like, oh, it was a resounding success.
Yeah.
And it was like I was helping outfit a bunch of new American guys, and the Germans were having a bunch of new German guys coming in that were fucking authentic, on point, well behaved, very knowledgeable, really good with people. And then that got shot to shit because of politics. Unfucking believable.
They got one like that near me. I love it just because of the totality of it. It's called Military Through the Ages at Jamestown.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
That is amazing. Like, it's not like, look, I do Vietnam or here I do World War II. Like, it is like the most obscure impressions, and they're amazing. Like, the one that always stuck out to me was like, it was early Civil War a beaching party, amphibious party. So it had they had made a replica of the boat, like a skiff. It had a swivel gun on the front, but it wasn't like a 6-pound. It was a full-on Napoleon. And then the carriage that it sat on was in the back of the boat. So they would roll up onto the shore. The Marines would jump out, take the shore. They'd roll the carriage to the front where the pintle is, roll the barrel forward, knock the point out of the way, roll it back onto the carriage, and it had
And then-
ramps, and it would roll off. The rear of it had a wheel on it, so they could just roll over the beach. I was like, this is so cool.
It's fucking that shit is really cool because
Yeah.
that's why I like timeline events in general.
Yeah,
Because
they had a dude that did the Zulus. Like they brought out like the rice bags and everything, set up like a picket line to put the rifles on.
fuck yeah, I mean it's really cool. Yeah,
one kid came out. He was probably 14, 15, maybe, if that, maybe. And it was like, I'd say like a Greek kid. Like he wasn't like a full-on soldier, but looked like he was from the era of the Greeks. And he had shrubbery on him. And he was going around talking to people. And he was like, this is the first form of known camouflage. I was like, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, there was Fort Snelling also had a timeline event once a year. And there was dudes, they wanted it to be primarily, well, they did want it to be all American troops. So, because it's a very small fort, by the way. It's an 1812 fort. It's fucking tiny. It's basically the size of a football field inside the fort. That's it. It's an acre. And so, anyway, so there's these dudes that were showing up doing early colonial militia with matchlocks.
Nice.
And oh fuck yeah, and they had the tubes, hanging off them, the furs and all that shit, barefoot. They had all the leather shit, and then they had, and it was awesome because we did the weapons demo. I fucking wish I could find the videos. If I go back far enough, I could probably find them. Somebody took. So we literally had the second year we did that. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you had that. Yeah, that's how small it is.
I literally just put it up.
Yeah, it's fucking tiny. And yeah, but you see how it's at the mouth? Like there's the
Minnesota, there's the Mississippi.
So it's around the corner there, and that's in St. Paul.
And there's Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, that's how everything goes.
And there's the Minneapolis MEP Center.
Yeah, I know. I've been there. So have you. No, did you go to Milwaukee?
No.
Oh, you went to? Yeah, I went there too. I went to
Minneapolis.
So
I enlisted into Charlie Company and then transferred to Bravo Company.
Oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, so they had this timeline, and the second year that they did it was fucking beautiful because you had oh shit, there was a bunch of, there was French and Indian War, there was Rev War, there was post Rev War, pre-1812 militia, there was 1812 regulars and Mexican. I mean, pretty much every conflict. They had Spanish Civil War, the Abraham Lincoln Brigade. A dude showed up with that. So pretty much every kind of American soldier involvement in a conflict we had represented up to Iraq and Afghanistan at that point. Fucking phenomenal, right? And so they did the weapons demo, and it was absolutely without a fucking hitch, went off perfect. Starts at the matchlock. So you load the fucking thing, primes it, boom, bam, one shot. And then it goes all the way through. And then you go from Civil War to Indian Wars out here, and you've got a fucking a 45 Springfield 1872 4570, and you get a little bit faster on the loading. All of a sudden you get to the fucking Span Am with the Krag faster, and then I get there for World War One, and I got the 03, and I can work a bolt pretty fucking fast. So it's like bam, bam, bam. Then you get the M1 or you get the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, and then you get the M1 rifle, the M1 carbine, and then or the M2 carbine in Korea. Vietnam, the guy had an A1, and then you go on to like all that shit. It gets really fast. It's so funny. And like in this video, we all did it without a hitch. It was just everybody, there was no pause in between the guys. And they were just announcing it was just a perfect fucking firing demo. Nobody had a malfunction. It was great. And I wish I could have that video because it was just cool to hear how slow it gets. And then all of a sudden, just how fast the firing gets for one guy, And yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, those timeline events are really sweet because yeah, I was just going around to people and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. There was one dude that had he was wearing green. It was like an Irish something. It wasn't, I don't know if it was Civil War, it might have been, but he had like this green fucking uniform on. It was beautiful. And I forgot what war that was. God, anyway, yeah, so it was just really fun. But yeah, events like that too. I don't know if Fort Snelling still does those things, but they definitely, I know they're still open. They must be.
Yeah, they are. They're only open 3 days a week right now, but that
Yeah.
could be seasonal.
Oh yeah, definitely seasonal. They're probably closed now, but
This
in the
summer, you
summertime.
and I should go up there.
Yeah, it's really fun. It'd be cool to see if some people we're still working there.
Some of the douchebags or some of the cool people?
Well, there really weren't many douchebags working at there. So
That's one photo from it. It's hard to find some of the other ones.
oh, it's fucking Grenada right there, right?
Yeah, Grenada,
Maybe
but then I
second.
think obviously World War One. But yeah, it's like they're just walking around talking to everybody.
Yeah, it's that exactly. It's fun. They go,
Yeah.
what the hell are you? Yeah. Yeah, I love timeline events. They're one of my favorites.
Because you
And-
yourself get to learn so much.
Well, that's the thing is you walk around. I love again, the good crowd in reenacting is great because everybody's fucking respectful, very knowledgeable, and you just learn so much. You bounce shit off of everybody else, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. And it's really fun. And then the public sees that, and then they feel comfortable because you're sitting there talking, and then they can come up and ask a question, and then you've got people there, and it turns into a really fun time. And what's really cool too is like we would show up and they would gates open at like 8 or 9 a.m. and they closed at 5. And it's like when there's a lot of people there, when it's a good event, that 8-9 hours, boom, it's over. It's done. And you're like, oh shit, that went really quick. That was awesome. And I just fucking loved that shit. And then it got stupid, and that's why I haven't done it since about 20. I mean, I've been to a couple things since then, but not like a regular thing since like 2018, 2019, probably 2018. But yeah, definitely a good thing.
Yeah, they're one of my more favorite events to do because it's laid back. There's no 4 o'clock wake up, color guard, got fire guard and all that crap. It's just relaxed. Come out. Plus you get educated as well with other people.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It really,
Yeah.
I do miss those. They were, because there'd be a few guys from each time period, or just one guy if it was obscure enough. Just a few guys each. So it's like, hey, can you sit here? And then we're going to go walk around, and then you just rotate out. So your position is still, if the public comes around, there's somebody there to fill in for your time period. But you could just go walk around, and then you get guys coming in, and I fucking absolutely love that. We did another timeline, but it was open to like all nationalities, and that's when we did the Romanian thing. Because
like so, I like when they when the hobby or when the impression itself is doing something. Like my buddy went to the Jamestown one, and his fly tent had ripped at a previous event, so they just whipped out thread and needle, and as they were talking to people, they were repairing the tent, and people were like, "Is that what y'all do?" He's like, "Yeah, we just don't just ship it off and get a new one. You got to make do with what you can."
there's a dude
Really
that's actually a nice segue into the topic I wanted to bring up.
really quick, and then I gotta go piss, and then you can start your topic when I'm pissing. There's a dude that helped us with Reveille quite a damn bit, right? This guy is like a fucking amazing dude.
Was he the cobbler?
Yes. Yep, the Schuster. So he's the
Yep.
company Schuster, and at events, that's what he does, and that's what he did in Reveille.
was that
And-
David?
Doug Strong.
Oh yeah, Doug Strong. Doug, not David.
Yeah, Doug. And his work is fucking impeccable. He's probably
Yes.
the best in the nation for
Yeah.
that.
But I thought he quit.
Well, he doesn't really go to a lot of events that I
No, I mean,
know
I
of.
thought
Like,
I thought he stopped doing that as a.
I think he
profession.
quit doing the services, but he'll do it for like at a reenactment for his
Okay.
guys, like his group.
Okay.
Gotcha. Because that's what he does. He's got the entire fucking setup,
Yeah.
and to watch him peel the old soles and the hobnails off, slap a new sole
Wild.
in there, peg it, and then fucking throw the hob. I mean, it's really cool. And just like I was telling you, the World War I guy, Ray, that has the entire World War I field kitchen, and he cooks period correct recipes out of the original field manuals that said,
Yeah.
if you have these ingredients, here's a list of things you can make.
I bet that's actually really good food.
Oh, dude, there was one. And then I swear I'll let you go, but like there was one thing that Ray was my mentor getting into the hobby, and he is insanely knowledgeable about the First World War. And so he does 32nd too. He was in the 127th for a while back in the day. So he was reading this book, this memoir or something about how one of the units in the 128th ambushed German convoy, like a horse-drawn carriage, like a convoy. So they thought it was a supply convoy. They get into this covered wagon type thing, and it's got a bunch of trunks in it. Well, in that wagon was a fucking like German like colonel or general or something, like a field grade officer. They capture him. They capture everybody there, and they're going through his stuff. And he had just been home on leave, and his family had sent him back with a fuckload of fresh sausages and a fucking like couple crocks of homemade fresh sauerkraut, right?
Hell yeah.
And so they went, oh, this is ours now. And so they grabbed all the sausages and the sauerkraut, brought it to their mess sergeant, and he goes, we're eating good today, boys. So he cuts up all the sausages, and he writes this down like in his memoir, cuts up all the sausages and just fries them, and then throws the sauerkraut on this big fucking pot. My mouth was watering just thinking about it. It's one of my favorite meals. And so they serve the Germans too, because the Americans, like, if you capture POWs, you treat them with respect. And so they the German officer ate his sauerkraut and sausages with his men and the Americans. And so all these guys are just munching on his, like, you know, amazing sausages and shit from home. And that was one of the cool things. So he made that meal for us one time. And we're sitting there because we just pay him before the event, and he gives you like 6 meals. And it's in the original mess tent. He's got all the condiments. Everything is period correct. It's fucking awesome. And so we're sitting there eating that. And even the people that were like there, the public, they're like, that smells really good. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
really good. They're like, what is that? I'm like, it's just sausage and sauerkraut.
I don't think I've ever been to an event with bad food.
No, and Ray is really good, and he makes a lot too. So
see, that's one of the things that I really would like to get into reenactment for, is the culture of what it was like in those other time periods, not the fighting. I know about the fighting.
Yeah,
I want to know about the culture.
The culture is very similar. Very similar. So like for chow, what they would do in World War I is, like, Ray has his field kitchen, which is literally a tent, and he's got like another fly that goes around as like your mess hall if it's raining or some shit, or if it's really hot and sunny. But anyway, so he's got this field kitchen with this cast iron stove that he cooks on, all the correct cookware, everything like that. And then he's got a table with the condiments and all that shit. And then he has usually has like Fig Newtons or Oreos or some shit at the end as like a dessert. And what would happen in real life is these guys would be up on the line wherever the fuck they were, and the mess sergeant would be around 100 to 200 yards back, but right fucking there, cooking hot chow. And so they would just rotate off every other guy, or however the fuck they did it, and they would just go back. And then if you were really like, if it was getting active, you would just go get your chow and go back to the line. But it was kind of like a break, and the guys would just sit around, and they would just, you know, different platoons and shit in the same company. And they just sit at the chow hall or the chow tent, and they just eat. And they just bullshit like, oh God, this is fucking so boring. When is something going to happen? Or, you know, God, it's sick of it raining, you know, whatever. Or just talk about, oh, I got a letter from home. And it was really interesting. And that's why, and the people that were going to events, because he was the only one doing that, right? And so the people would walk, and his tent was always busy. So when we would come in, rotate for chow, we would just kind of get in character and be like, excuse me. And like get in and be like, hey, how's it going, Sergeant P? Oh, good. Yeah, you guys see anything? Nope, nothing's boring. Just nothing's going on. It's just quiet as usual. Oh, that's not bad. They're just going in, and then these people are like, and they're right there with us. It's kind of a surreal thing for them. And it was just cool, because then we'd sit there and we'd start talking about shit like period correct. And they're just sitting there watching, they're videotaping too. And a lot of them are just like, this is so cool. Like, we never would have thought how they get food. We always think it's rations, like canned goods and shit. But it's like the hot chow, and it's really being cooked right there. You can smell it. The guys are eating it. And it was such a cool impression. It was, I just absolutely fucking loved that about that. You know, every event, it was such a thing to look forward to.
But yeah, the logistics chain is just something that nobody ever thinks about when it comes to combat.
Mm-hmm. And you need it, or the infantry, it doesn't matter if you got infantry and artillery, you need logistics.
Yeah. Like, food is more important than bullets half the time.
Yeah.
I'll let you go take a piss, because that's the perfect segue into what I was going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be back too. Hang on.
Oh, great. You leave me here by myself.
Well, you go take a piss then.
I don't need to. I have a man's bladder. Yeah. Anyway, Joe, I am 11 Bravo Crunchy. That is me. I'm not putting the hat back on because it's too fucking hot in here, and I'm tired, and it's not comfortable to wear under my headset.
So, City Point, Virginia to Petersburg, the town, is roughly 24 miles. So the line around Petersburg, the Union line, I'd say about 15 miles. So the supply line for the Civil War during the Petersburg campaign, they were cooking bread at City Point, and by the time it got to the men in the trenches, the federal men, the bread was still warm. So they had gotten the supply chain down so well that even in the summertime, they were getting ice cream.
Oh
In certain
wow!
points, yeah.
But yeah, supply chains. I was listening to an audiobook. It's the one that I've been. It's the series that I've been listening to. I talked about it one of the last times we did Friday Night Shite. Which one is it? I need to tell my brother to stop talking to me. It's called Island Infernos by John C. McManus, U.S. Army's Pacific War Odyssey, 1944. I don't even think I'm halfway through it yet, but right now, where we're at, no, I'm not. I'm not even halfway through it. There's still 12 hours left from where I'm at. The topic that he's on, that it's on right now, is Merrill's Marauders in Burma, and they found out the hard way that you can't operate very long in combat conditions when you don't have a supply line. Is basically
Yeah.
what it boiled down to. Like they had no ground supply line where they were at in Burma and China, basically right on the border between Burma and China. Uh, all of their supplies were having to get airdropped to them, and most of the casualties that they took in that particular part of the campaign, the Burma campaign, were from malnutrition because they couldn't get enough food to the guys up on the line.
Yeah.
Like these guys were basically completely cut off. Like there was no enemy between them and the supply lines in India and Bangladesh and the coast where Allied logistics bases were. There was no enemy between them and the logistics space. There was just no roads between them and the logistics space. And they were out there basically holding the Japanese down so the engineers could build the roads to get to them. But no, it's a repeating theme in every single campaign that I'm learning about in the Pacific campaign of World War II of just the U.S. Army is supply line, supply line, supply line. And that brings me back to my time in the military as an infantryman. And I'm sure you as an MP saw that a little bit, but probably not as much, is you can't carry, and this is more for the good of the audience who might not know this. The infantryman cannot carry more than about 2 or 3 days worth of supplies on their person at any given time going into a combat operation. Like 2, maybe 3 days is about all you're carrying, because you got to carry your food, you got to carry your ammo, you got to carry your water, you got to carry any dry clothes that you want, and the last but not least is you have to carry some sort of comfort items, because if you're going to be in the field for 2 to 3 days, you're going to need something to sleep in, whether it be a whoopee or whether it be a sleeping bag or whatever. You're going to need something for sleeping. Well, what happens in that 2 to 3 day patrol if you run out of ammo because you got into contact with the enemy? So you think about that. Okay, we'll bring more ammo at the beginning of the patrol. Well, you're only going to be carrying about maybe 100 pounds worth of shit. Well, probably some of the guys in Afghanistan were carrying 200, but you still got to carry that shit. And if you get into contact, you got to drop that 200-pound rucksack. Okay, do we leave it unattended? Do we camouflage it? Do we leave it guard? What the fuck do we do with our gear if we get into contact? You can't operate. You cannot operate as an infantry unit on the front lines, probing the enemy positions without a supply chain to support you. Like you've got the two good days of combat operations with the stuff that you can carry, and that's it.
Speaking of supply lines, this is what they would do when they came to a position where you could not make a road or the road was not satisfactory.
Corduroy.
Yep. They would take the trees down, and they would lay it different ways and then throw dirt on top of it, because horses
they did that in New Guinea.
Terrified of, yeah, exactly. But I think from my understanding, at the height, the fastest, they were doing 6 miles a day of corduroy road.
And that's fucking blazing.
Yeah. Like that's putting in work.
I've helped maintain corduroy road on my grandpa's property back when he was still alive. I was in like middle school, and just maintaining it over a couple hundred yards is a hell of a lot of work, and that's not even putting it in to begin with. And
because they're just throwing stuff here, putting one line in, then you got to nail all of this down together like a railroad track. And then you have to put dirt on it, because if the horse doesn't see dirt or whatnot, it'll panic. Because going back to Fredericksburg, when they put the artificial bridge or the plank bridge across the river at Fredericksburg, what they did was they would put the bridge down, and then they put dirt on top of it and blindfold the horse.
Yeah.
Because the horse wouldn't go across it.
Yep. Sounds about right. But yeah, people who don't know just completely underestimate the amount of shit that goes into supporting military operations. Like,
food's a big one.
Food is the biggest one. Like, it doesn't matter how good your rations are, nutrition-wise, calorie-wise. It doesn't matter how good they are if you can't get them to the guys that need them. Like MREs, and Mike and Trey, you guys can both attest to this. MREs are fucking heavy.
Oh yeah,
and they are. Space.
You don't realize how heavy they are until you have to carry 4 days worth of them, in addition to all of the other stuff you have to carry.
And also the heaviest thing besides ammo, obviously, a lot of people that haven't had to do it don't think about it, is water.
Yeah.
Water is fucking heavy.
And you cannot carry enough of it on your person for more than 2 days.
And you
just can't do it. I mean, if you think about it, and we're not even bringing environmental factors into this, like extreme heat, like Iraq and Afghanistan in the summertime, or extreme cold, like Western Europe against the Germans, or whatever. Just normal, comfortable summertime temperatures, like 60 to 70 degrees. An infantryman in the field is going to be going through, what would you say, Mike, 2 to 3 gallons a day?
It's also person dependent. Like I needed to drink. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So if we were just doing that, so we're carrying 80, 90 pounds of shit, including the ruck, or no, it'd be about 110 pounds of ammo and all that shit and water. I would need to drink about 4 gallons a day walking.
Yep. At 8 pounds a gallon.
Yes. So that's 32 pounds right there, just in water, that I need for 1 day.
Yep. Now extend that to a 3-day patrol.
It's not going to happen. I'd have to give up one of my comfort items to replace it with water. That's what I ended up having to do.
But on top of that, it's like, okay, what are you going to store it in? You're not just going to pour water into your rucksack.
No,
now you have to carry a canteen.
which also has weight to it.
which also has weight to it. Now you have to carry a camelback, which, okay, are you going to strap that to the top of your rucksack? Well, if you strap it to the top of your rucksack, well, now if you have to drop your rucksack because you just got into contact with the enemy, you don't have water on you.
Right. Yeah, it's a fucking insane. Yeah, it's a really insane thing that. I mean, I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
Fucking
but
glad
this is all stuff that I didn't pay any fucking attention to when I was 17, 18, 19 years old.
Yep.
Now that I'm 38, now I'm like, oh, yeah, we're not going to be getting into any kind of a major conflict without some kind of major supply support.
Right.
That was one of the biggest problems that, and this isn't just for ground combat either. In the 1980s, when Britain got into the Falklands War, they were in the process of basically shutting down their active duty navy. When the Falklands War kicked off, they didn't have a naval supply chain to support expeditionary operations that far from home. They just didn't have the supply chain. They didn't have the ships. They didn't have the resources. It didn't exist. And they had to shit out a combat capable supply chain in the span of 1 month.
Damn.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
Well, it kind of did.
Well, do they still own the islands?
Yeah, they do.
Do they?
The Falklands are still British territory.
Oh, it's because that's right. Because they showed up after that month. They showed up and fucking cleaned house. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The fucking islands.
But that first month though, Argentina's claim to the island was completely unopposed.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like after the very first day of combat operations, they're after I think it was the Royal Marines on the island held out for a week, but after that it was a completely unopposed occupation for about a month.
Yeah, and then they show up and it's game over.
And then they show up and kicked ass and retook the islands. But
they wanted us to fucking go down there because we had our shit together. They wanted us to go down there. We're like, no.
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher was like, Mr. Reagan, can you please talk to the Argentinians and try to get them to see reason? And Reagan's like, yeah, that was basically what it was.
Yeah,
Reagan's like, what the fuck do you want me to do?
Yeah, you got into this fucking mess.
You guys are the ones who gutted your fucking navy. The Royal fucking Navy, what used to be the biggest navy on the fucking planet, completely controlled the entire globe for what 3 centuries.
Yeah, something like that.
And you guys need us to come to your help. We don't have any grievance with the Argentinians.
Or one of my favorite statements in the world: "Go fuck yourself." It's pretty
Chad.
simple.
What a Chad.
Hi, Bob. But
right.
No, it drives me insane when I see all these people, all these pundits on the interwebs talking about how the U.S. can just go in and crush and blah blah blah. It's like the only reason why we can is because we have bases all over the fucking world that we can use to supply our forces.
There is that factor, yes.
Like we didn't ignore our logistics chain.
Yeah,
right.
Quartermaster Corps is hardcore.
We have the ability, we have the airlift capacity to transport basically whatever cargo, whatever combat support supplies we need to wherever we need them in the world in a day. Like munitions, who fucking cares? We can produce ammunition like nobody's business. But it takes longer to make food.
Bullets don't fly without supply.
It's true.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but it's fucking true. Makes me wish I could go back in and reclass to fucking supply NCO.
Yeah, they don't get enough sleep. I'd want a fucking 9 to 5. If I ended up like, if we got into like World War III and they started doing what Ukraine's doing, like taking all these like decrepit old men and like saying, "Hey, you're now in the army or whatever," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll go quietly if I can pick my MOS," and I'd pick something like completely where it's like 9 to 5.
Camo.
Well, yeah, but if you get stuck with an infantry unit, you're fucked. You know.
Well,
But-
that's why you go into like cryptology and shit like that, where you're actually
Yeah.
working in an office. Finance.
If they said, "Hey, you have to go back to the army," I'd be like, "Well, that's bad timing, guys. Really poor time because I joined the Air Force 2 days ago. Whoops." And then go down and immediately join the Air Force.
Yeah, you're financing for buying yachts and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck yeah. No, my buddy's in the Air Force, and he has a fucking awesome job. It's just great.
Does
and
he
I'm like,
groom the golf course?
No, he doesn't get out of the AC much to do that. So no, he has a pretty sweet gig.
I would try to get into the personnel office, like be an Army HR person.
Oh yeah, something just like completely retarded, but like you literally have a 9 to 5 and you sleep in barracks when everybody else is out in the field.
Be a complete shitbag too to everybody.
Oh yeah, just like barely wear the uniform, like wear civilian shirts underneath your blouse and shit. That's seriously, if I ever
and still wear your combat patch from Iraq.
Fuck yeah. Oh fuck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Be like, yeah, I'm old school. I'd be like the old guy. Like I saw this dude in Kuwait. He was wearing a fucking 9th ID patch, and I'm like,
oh my god,
he's not old enough to be in Vietnam. And I'm like, what is that from? He's like, Panama. And I was like, oh shit. So okay. He was like, yeah, I was in Panama. And he's like, because it really didn't do much there, but
just be a desk jockey, be like, I need these forms signed in 6 copies.
Right.
Says 3. I need 6 though. Yeah. And I'll lose them all.
Yeah, I need 6. That way I don't have to call you back in. So I don't have to see you again when the first 3 get lost.
Yeah, that's South Park meme. And they're gone.
Oh no, it fell off my desk into the shredder. Oops.
I'll have that shit on Monday.
Shucky darns.
Whoops, Daisy. Sweet Jesus, Jesse.
Oh shucky darns. That was your leave paperwork. I'm sorry.
That sounds like a Monday problem, but it's Tuesday. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll fix that on Monday.
God, yeah. I mean, you literally.
Sorry, I can't fix it because it's 1600 and close of business is 1700.
Yeah.
Would it not be funny though if like they did decide to be like absolutely retarded, like they're more than capable of, and they get us into something and they're like, well, our numbers are so far down that we have to reinstate the draft. I'd be like, good luck. I mean, you think McNamara's morons? You think McNamara's morons were shitty? Holy fuck!
Oh, I don't know if you saw that, Trey, but I posted a picture on Mike's Discord last week, I think, about proposed amendments. And one of the constitutional amendments that was proposed back in I think it was the late 1700s.
No, it was like the early 1900s.
Was it the early 1900s? Oh yeah, it was prior to our entry into World War One. One of the amendments that was proposed was the vote to go to war for a declaration of war has to basically be a referendum vote of every American citizen, and the people who vote yes have to be the first ones to volunteer.
Yeah, yep. I remember that.
That should definitely be a thing. Yeah.
Yes, that would be, and that's exactly why it'll never go through, is because it should be a thing.
Yeah, because Raytheon wouldn't get their money at this point.
No.
Fuckers. But yeah, I mean,
you have a request for more Jesse Ventura voice.
Once I get done getting this pattern,
he's focusing.
Yeah, I'm de-threading right now to make everything nice and pretty.
You need to get you a thread ripper.
No. I'm like just taking the threads off like I'm all the loose shit that I already tore.
Okay.
I'm just cleaning everything up so it's nice and whatever. No, everything's already apart. I've got a Pasget cover taken apart. I'm working on an ACH small and medium right now, and then I'll probably do the large and extra large tomorrow. But yeah, it's gonna be fucking wicked. Fuck around with that all day tomorrow.
Buttered sausage. Tell me about buttered sausage, where it comes from. Let's talk about buttered sausage.
The fuck is that from?
The video I sent you.
Mike, the wife says that your wall is worse than ours, and I say no, it's better. It has more.
Yeah, anybody that's been in here knows that that's about 1/10 of what's in the room. So yeah, it's pretty scary in here.
Is that like his bunker or something? Or
No, it's his office.
It's a fucking office. Start to fucking relax.
Talk about buttered sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face. What about buttered sausage?
Buttered
That's not your
sausage.
jam. It's not your thing. You don't like it.
It's not my jam. I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I
This
kiss
fucking
my
AI.
No, that's Gary Busey, man.
What?
That's Gary Busey.
Yeah, but like, I mean, really?
That's
I
from
thought you
years
said. I
ago.
thought that was like a joke.
No, that was in an interview. He's like,
find
let's
my
talk
Buttered
about.
sausage.
He's like, let's talk about this. He's like, let's talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does.
What?
Gary Busey is fucking insane.
Well, I mean, the poor guy was in a car accident and fucked his head up. He had like TBI and all that shit. So it's not like he's just insane like most people in our government. He has a legit reason why he's the way he is.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe
you
the
want-
people in the government all have TBIs.
No, that would actually make sense.
I gotta show you my Halloween costume from a few years ago.
Jesus.
Says he wants to do impressions.
Who wants to do impressions? Jakey Poo?
Yeah.
Joe. Joe wants you to do Jesse.
Oh God.
See if we can pulls up.
Who is talking to me? Why are they talking to me? It's my brother talking about freaking 3D printing again. It's Trey posting stuff.
I reckon I'll have my some of the French hot taters. Reckon I'll have a big one. You ought not to talk to your boy like that.
Yeah, I went all out for that one.
Fuck it. Hey, that was a good movie. I like that. A lot of people were like, oh, it's fucking
yeah.
retarded. I'm like, well, yeah, it's retarded, obviously. Yes. Yes. Like literally. But yeah, there's some good lines in that one too. I got no gas in it.
Like I got the books and everything, man.
You ain't got no gas in it.
Did you end the night back in prison or back in the nut hut?
No, I think I drove home after that night.
Oh, damn.
Because the people I showed up and they were like, "What are you supposed to be like Halloween or whatnot?" And I was like, "No, it's." So I had to do the face, and they're like, "Oh my god, yeah, got you."
Some folks call it a sling blade. I call it a Kaiser blade. Or fuck. Yeah, some folks call it a Kaiser blade. I call it a sling blade.
No fur.
No fur. Yeah. Fuck.
My
God. Yeah, here. Yeah, what are you supposed to be? Are you trying to be a clown? Are you trying to be funny there?
Some people call them jokesters.
Yeah, wait a minute here. Excuse me. I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. You know, when I was governor of Minnesota, excuse me. Yeah, is it okay if I talk for a little bit? Thank you. When I was governor of Minnesota, excuse me. When I was governor of Minnesota, I dealt with people like you. You know what? They were just trying to poke fun at me, but I won the gubernatorial nomination, and I was the only gubernatorial candidate that actually.
What'd you run for governor for? What'd you run for
Excuse
governor
me.
for?
Hey, okay. Well, if you're such a patriot, then why don't you tell me what you're trying to say?
I knew that was coming.
Why don't you tell me then? You know what's really good? Their sling blade so-called is just regular scrambled eggs on tortillas.
Some people
And
call it a cutter blade.
What? You know, when I was a member of the 1%ers, we wouldn't tolerate behavior like this. That's where real men go to hang out. You know, because I was still in the military, you know, I was a Navy SEAL. You're aware of that, correct? If you're such a patriot, then why don't you tell me how long you served in the United States military to defend your country? Both of my parents fought in World War II, and that's very uncommon to have two parents who fought in World War II. Unless
I didn't
you're
know
gay.
males could reproduce.
Well, that's a pretty low blow there, Jake, don't you think? Why don't we try to bring this up to a professional level here? If you want to go outside, we can go outside right now and solve this like men. I'm not going to sit here and take this sort of bullshit part of my
Yeah,
language.
but it's December.
Yeah, excuse me. I'm talking here. I don't believe you had the floor. Or am I mistaken? Why don't you tell me if I'm mistaken? Are you a patriot? Have you served your country? No, I'll answer that for you. Back when I saw the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger didn't look at me and say, hey, you're a pussy because you didn't serve in the military. No, he knew I was a Navy SEAL, and that's why he let me be on his private security team one time. Really, I was just sitting in the crowd doing crowd control, but I was part of Mick Jagger's private security team. And let me tell you something. If you had to do something like that, you'd be sitting on your thumb, spinning around. You wouldn't be able to handle it.
You happy now, Joe? Never gets old. Never fucking gets old.
Well, Jesse sure. He's actually fucking ripped for being as old as he is.
Yeah.
He's fucking ripped. Like, I wouldn't fuck with him. And he's a big dude. Like, I've seen him in real life. He's my size if I was in shape. But he's like fucking huge and in shape. So
Isn't he in his 70s now?
yeah.
Probably the only decent boomer on the planet.
No, he's fucking batshit. He's absolutely fucking batshit.
That's what I mean.
Very few boomers can actually meet the criteria of not being a complete fucking lunatic. And I mean that in the worst possible way. So just so I make sure I offend the
both mine and the wife's parents are all boomers, and
yep.
I love them. I love them to death, but I'm sorry, but the boomers cannot die soon enough.
You know, it's like they just ranting about this last night with the wife. Like, I go on these rants once in a while.
I was too.
Oh God, I'm just like, because somebody made fun of, like, they just made a joke in the comments on YouTube, and I said, yeah, they said I was a boomer or something. I mean, they were like very blatantly joking, so I wasn't even mad. But I said, yeah, you know, thanks for the compliment. I wish I was a boomer, then I could have all my assets would be worth over 400 fucking times what I paid for them. I'd have everything fucking leveraged, and I'd leave absolutely nothing for the future generations and squander everything from the next 10 generations, and still some way find out a way to become the fucking victim.
Right?
Nothing is ever good enough. You guys just got to work harder. Stop buying your avocado toast and your $7 coffees at Starbucks, and maybe you can
pick
work
yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, pick yourself up by your bootstraps like you did when you were fucking born into the boomers. They had the single fucking best time to be alive in the history of this fucking planet. And, you know, they had a great time. They could fucking get out of high school, buy a house, and if they chose to go to college, which is the rant that I might get on, but maybe not, they could work a summer job and they could get enough money to pay tuition for the entire fucking year. Now, they worked and worked and worked. Oh my God, we got to pick up more overtime. Got to get all this money. Got to keep up with the Joneses. Got to fucking do this. Oh, we paid our house out. Oh, well, we're getting close to paying our house out. Let's refinance so we can buy that third fucking boat and put it in the yard. Oh, we got to show the neighbors up. Yep. Oh, got to get the new lawnmower. Got to get this. Got to get that. Got to go on these trips. Got to get this camper. Got to do this. Got to get the bigger, better car.
Don't forget the cabin on the lake up north.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The cabin in our third house that we occasionally go to, but You know, we really don't care about it. Oh, let's invest in a timeshare, and somehow that's somebody else's problem because we were too stupid to figure it out when they fucking read us the contract because we didn't read it because we were too drunk and having too much fun. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. And also, let's buy a property for $20,000 at 18%. Plus, we have to pay points, pay it off in 10 fucking years. No, we're not going to pay it off. Actually, it's not the boomer way. I keep saying that. No, we're going to refinance it right if we get it paid off, or right as we're about to pay it off. We're going to refinance to get some capital to buy some more shit that we don't need. And then we're going to invest in the stock market, make fucking billions of dollars. All of our shit's leveraged. And then we're going to have kids. We're going to give them participation trophies. We're going to tell them that we had it so much harder. We're not going to pay attention to them. We're going to go out with our friends. We're going to have a great time. We're going to work 80 hours a week. And we're going to vote in policies blindly because guess what? I'm a Republican. You're a Democrat. We're both voting for the same fucking thing, but we're too stupid to believe that because we watch the same news channels, even though they're called different things, but we're going to still vote for the same policies that are going to completely fuck the country over, even though we are already doing that with our financial decisions. So yeah,
let's not forget to join the union.
Well, that was before the boomers. That was actually the quote unquote greatest generation and the people before that.
The union boomers are fucking terrible. I work with them.
Oh yeah, it's because they're still part of that old school shit. Yeah,
that's like 90% of my coworkers are fucking union boomers. Okay, so one of them, fucking 80-year-old piece of shit. I'm not shitting. He is 80 years old and still driving a truck full time. The boss actually asked him if he would be on occasion willing to voluntarily give up his early load times because load times are assigned by seniority. So he can start at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, whenever he fucking wants, because he's been working there longer than I've been alive.
Right.
He doesn't have kids at home. Like seriously, he has grandkids, if not great grandkids, and none of them live with him. I've got 2 kids under the age of 2, and I get maybe 3 hours a night to spend with them at best.
Yeah, he doesn't care. It's not his problem. He worked.
Yeah. Yeah, he's earned his right to start at 4 o'clock in the morning so he can be home by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And do nothing but fucking get on the internet and make everybody else's life miserable.
I don't even think he knows how to use the internet. He doesn't know how to use the internet. He doesn't know how to use a cell phone.
Excellent. So even better. So he makes people's lives miserable in person still, the old school way. Yeah, because I mean, here's the thing: is you have to make everybody's life around you miserable and tell about you got to say how hard you've worked and how bad you've had it and how you guys today just don't get it. And then when you try to fire back with something like, well, yeah, even if you work 80 hours a week, the amount of money you actually take home versus what the company takes home is not what it used to be. It's a lot less for working the same amount of hours, and everything's about 500 times more expensive. So I can't afford a $400,000 house at 10% right now. And also because you guys you guys came up with subprime loans. You guys fucking bought into that. You guys bought property with subprime loans. You fucking encouraged that collapse to happen. You guys were fine. You recovered, but everybody else got fucked. And now to get a house is absolutely, it's
impossible.
It's a rough process. It really is. We'll just say that. So it's
and you can't even think about, like, I live in a single wide trailer. You can't even think about buying one. Nobody will fucking finance one.
Nope.
Like the single wide trailer, the only reason why I was able to get financing to buy my house is because it sits on 11 acres of land. It's got a 54-foot long pole shed, a 30 by 54 pole shed.
Yeah, it's a nice shed. Yeah.
Well, it would be nice if the previous owner, who is a boomer, would have put a fucking concrete floor in it.
Oh.
Built a $60,000 building, insulation, electricity, the works, dirt floor.
Cute.
Yeah, right? Everything in there is covered in a fine layer of red granite sand dust.
Nice.
The only reason why I was able to buy this property was because I have a friend who has a friend in Minnesota who runs a trailer park, and put me in touch. My friend put me in touch with his friend who runs a trailer park in Minnesota and does financing for mobile homes. And I asked him, and I call him out of the blue. I'm like, you don't know me from Adam. Lon is a mutual friend of ours. He suggested I talk to you because he doesn't know anything either. This is with the situation I'm in. I found this property. I want to buy it. It has a used pre-owned mobile home on it that is not installed on the original location. Is there any way I can get financing to buy this fucking thing? And he said there is one financing company in the country that will finance that.
Yep.
And it's owned by Warren Buffett. I pay my mortgage to Warren Buffett. I'm not even shitting.
I mean, we all pay our mortgage to somebody who's a piece of shit or multiple pieces of shit, so don't feel too bad.
But the point is that okay, the VA will not finance a single wide. You cannot get a VA home loan to finance a single wide.
Dude,
even if it's brand fucking new.
I barely got it on a manufactured home. It's not even a fucking. It's not even a trailer. It's a manufactured home, right?
Is it a double wide or is it
no?
Or is it an actual? Okay.
It's like, well, I mean, it's the width of a double wide, but it's actually it was one piece.
Yeah.
Or two pieces because the living room thing. It was built as a house as one unit, and it's on a foundation permanently.
Yeah.
And it was like pulling fucking teeth to get a VA loan. Like, I mean, and also being self-employed. Jesus Christ, did that suck? Oh my God.
I feel like we're turning into boomers now talking about it.
Well, yeah.
This is the world that the boomers have created.
Right. It's just
trans boomers.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Jake's a fucking boomer at heart.
Back in my day.
No, but it was just it was tough to get this fucking place because of all the shit that's gone down with subprime loans and whatever. Lenders are like, well, we don't want that to happen again because it's just take. But glad I got one. But I feel for these people. Like, I know somebody that he's my age. I grew up with him. They just bought a house near me and they paid a hell of a lot more than I did. And they barely got that.
I got a shitty fucking interest rate when I bought my house.
What are you at?
I got it's over 9%.
That's what the normal is right now.
That wasn't the normal in 2019.
Yep. Oh, you bought your house the same year I did because mine's 3.8.
Yeah. But the reason why is because the mortgage lender that I was working with before I found my own financing ran my credit score so many fucking times.
Yeah. Yep.
That in the 60 days that I was working with him, he ran my fucking credit score so many goddamn times. It actually dropped my credit score out of the 700s. It was up to like 720.
Yep.
It actually dropped my credit score out of the 700s. And when I finally got a hold of the mortgage company that I have now to set up my mortgage, between the time I first contacted them and the time I was actually able to sign the mortgage, my credit score dropped by 30 points because the number of times that mortgage lender had run my credit score.
The credit score is also a bullshit thing. That's
another
boomer
boomerism.
thing. Exactly. Like it's so fucking stupid. It's a score so you can buy more shit that you can't afford. That's all it is.
It's a fucking scam. And you know it's a scam when you pay something off so you have less debt and your credit score drops.
Right, because you don't have revolving credit. Yeah.
And it drops because your credit history is no longer as old.
Right.
Because it goes off of average age of your credit history. So how long have you had debt? Well, the longer you have debt, the better your credit score. That makes absolutely no fucking sense. It should all be based on debt to income ratio.
Oh God, farting really bad right now.
What did you eat? Did you have bread? You had gluten, didn't you?
No, if I had gluten, I would not be talking right now. I would be like suffering, sweating, shitting my brains out, puking. Yeah, not good. No, I just
so an average Saturday night in the Army.
Oh, I had German potato soup for lunch. That shit is fucking good. It's amazing, but it's got starchy potatoes in it.
But yeah, I'm like $800 away from paying off my student loan, my only student loan that I had, and
Nice.
it's like 13 years old.
Yeah.
Or more. Well, I know that as soon as it pays, as soon as I pay it off, my credit score is gonna fucking crash.
Well, I mean, oh well, like it is what it is. Like if you're sitting there stressed out, like the credit
I'm
score
not
really
stressed out about it because I'm getting tired of it crashing every time I miss a payment. Like every time I miss a payment and it goes 30 days delinquent, my credit score drops by 50 points or
yeah, and
more.
unless you're gonna be buying something fucking huge.
I'm
I
not.
mean,
Huge.
the biggest.
I
You just can't resist.
no.
Huge. It's a disease
But
now.
it's oh yeah, and another wonderful thing that the boomers have left us with their legacy is all of the fucking requirements, the educational and certification requirements that you need in order to get a decent paying job in the first place.
Yeah, it was justify and maintain that their jobs wouldn't be replaceable and that they were all these shitty jobs that were created in the 50s and 60s and 70s that really aren't
Useful.
They're just somebody had to find a place, to exist and collect a paycheck to afford shit that they didn't need to buy and couldn't afford. But I don't know. I've been ranting about them for a long time. It's not like I don't wake up in the morning and think about it, but once in a while, it's just I'll hear something. It's just like fucking Christ.
Every single day as the day progresses, and I'm surrounded more and more. I see them all the fucking time at work.
Yeah.
Like every plant that I go to is run by fucking boomers. It's either the plant is either run by boomers and or the other drivers that are coming in are fucking boomers. And it's like, oh my fucking God, how are you people still in the fucking workforce? The youngest of boomers are in their early 60s.
I know what I got.
Trey, what's your opinion on boomers?
Oh, he's fucking Gen Z. He's so young, he doesn't even qualify.
Gen Z? Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, it's just funny. Like, whatever, I can bitch about it until the fucking sun comes up again, but nothing's gonna change.
That's why I don't, just because
until they all die.
No, we're still stuck with it. That's the thing, is like I made videos on that too. Like when everybody's like, when all the boomers die, all the guns, the surplus guns will be cheap. I'm like, no,
because they're all gonna get turned in for fucking gift cards.
No, they're not. The internet exists. Their families go, I hate this fucking prick. How can we get the most money out of the estate?
Yep.
I know. That's what happens all the time. I look at it all the time. And it's just not going to get better. And also, they're not going to die all at one time. There's be like this huge flood. It's just going to be a trickle. And if that were true, the guns would already be getting cheaper, but they're not. So it's just like nothing's going to get better. But just pivot, adapt, and just bend over and spread your ass a little bit more. Let it gape. Enjoy the gape.
Yeah, I think pivoting to the top of guns. I think I'm gonna start saving up to buy myself a Polish Mauser. I found one on a certain auction. Yeah. I found one on a certain auction site that I'm not gonna mention.
I know I rarely mention shit if I'm looking at something, because then you
Yeah.
get some idiot that just goes on there just for the lulz, and then it'll bid you up. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah, I think that's the next thing I'm gonna save up for is a Polish Mauser.
Well, yeah, one of the other guys, Pogue, has got a fucking WZ-29. He deer hunts with it.
I know. I saw that. I'm like, you motherfucker, I want it.
Yeah.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
Well, I need a Mauser for my collection because I'm slowly collecting World War II-ish era bolt guns. Because I've got 3.
Yeah.
If you count my K31 as a World War II-ish era.
Yeah.
So I've got 3.
Back in my day.
So I need a Mauser of some form or fashion. I need a Lee Enfield of some form or fashion. I need a Carcano. I need whatever the French were using.
The Mas 36. Good luck with that.
Yeah, because the French were really good at keeping a hold of their military arms.
Not true. They surplused a fuckload of them. I've got stuff sitting
Well, they
here that
they
used to be really
update.
cheap. No,
They
it used to be really cheap, and a certain market was influenced by a certain gun tuber that shall not be named.
yeah.
To bolster one's own collection, and
What a bag of dicks.
yeah, and
Rate him in with boomers.
Yeah, he basically
and-
is one.
But yeah, it's like they used to be cheap, and I fucking loved them. And like you could get Berthiers and shit for like $300, and a Moss 36 for like 200. A 4956, like that thing is, they were like $400 or $500 with all the accessories and shit. Nobody wanted them because they're French, they're junk. Never fired, only dropped once, ladies and gentlemen. It's like cool, let them keep thinking that. Just like the Carcano, everybody's like, oh, they're just a piece of shit. Cool, let them think that. The Arasaka, they're just a piece of shit. Let them think that.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, well now everybody wants them, and they know that they're not pieces of shit, and they're all fucking cool. But I mean,
Yeah, and I have no clue what happened to my grandpa's Carcano, or not Carcano. He fuck, I'm brain dead. Japanese rifle,
Arasaka.
Arasaka. The newer
Siraka.
model. He had a newer model. He brought it back from Saipan. So
Type 99, most likely, yeah.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. 99. I saw it one time my entire life.
Cute. They're really nice little guns.
Yeah.
You ever shot one,
saw-
Trey?
Which one?
An Arasaka Type 99.
I don't think so. Maybe,
Fucking awesome.
I've shot the Type 99 machine gun.
No, just the rifle, the bolt gun.
The rifle, no. The machine gun, I thought was going to be the biggest piece of shit, but it was probably one of the nicer machine guns I ever fired.
Yep,
They're
it was
smooth as shit.
one of the best light machine guns of World War II. Well,
Yeah.
it was funny because the Japanese they would take like an amalgamation of good ideas from different weapons, and they would incorporate it into theirs, and they all kind of looked fucked up and weird.
I think the best idea they had was the iron sight was where you're naturally going to aim. When
Exactly.
you tilt your head over, you had the telescopic sight.
Mhm.
That was amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it's yeah, they had really good weapons, and that's well. So, do you guys
But it
know?
can't be possible, Mike, that they had good weapons because they lost the war.
Do you know why that whole thing? You still a lot of boomers too, because it's during this time. Do you know why you hear that the Carcano, the Arasaka, the fucking Mauser, any name a surplus gun is a piece of besides the U.S. guns? Do you know why that trope
Propaganda.
exists?
Propaganda.
Because
Let
they
me
lost
go-
the war.
Go back and look at the training videos. Like my favorite one about the MG42 is like, hey, I think spits a lot of lead, but it's not accurate. I don't give a
Right.
fuck if it's accurate or not. It all coming towards me.
No, it's not. It's not that reason. I'll just say that. No. Like why the U.S. market? These things were dirt cheap for so long, and they couldn't fucking move them. And why people think they're just pieces of shit. No answers. It's because like during the 1950s and 60s, when all this shit flooded in from leftovers of World War II and all these countries and shit, they were so fucking cheap and available to everybody who was either poor or whatever, all this stuff. And the American arms companies did not like the competition because their revenue went down.
Yeah.
So they started these fucking tropes about, oh, these things are going to blow up. They're inaccurate. They're dangerous to shoot. They're pieces of shit. That's why they lost the war, all that stuff. It's like, that was why. It was like all of these gun companies, same thing with like the pistols, the surplus pistols.
What
Like the
about
Ruby was one of the most popular pistols in the 20s and shit, in the 30s.
I feel like you've done a video on it, but what about the 1903? The sub, was it 500 or 800,000?
Oh, the low number. So yeah, I did it. I did a video on that. It's kind of like any kind of urban legend or some shit. Everybody claims to know somebody who had a cracked receiver, right?
Yeah.
My logic is there were 68 or fucking, it's been a couple years since I looked at the exact numbers, but in Hatcher's notebook that all these boomers fucking treat as gospel and they quote it all the time. they said that out of 200 or 300 or something like test rounds that they fired, 68 or 60 some of them caused the receiver to crack. What the boomers failed to mention is that they were loaded twice the fucking PSI of a normal M2 ball round.
Yeah.
And that caused the receiver to crack. Well, fuck yeah. It'll cause most bolt guns, except the Arasaka Type 38, one of the strongest fucking actions ever made. It'll cause the receiver to crack or something to fail if you double load a cartridge. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? So anyway, with that, and my basic logic on this, my basic thinking is there were several thousand or a couple 100,000 of these fucking things out there, right? That's not a small number. It's pretty substantial. They made it through the First World War. A lot of them were rebarreled 2, 3, and 4 times between 1918 and 1945. Because the 03 was used through the Korean War. You'll see 03s that have a low serial number receiver, but like a fucking August of 44 replacement barrel on it, right? And that's not its first replacement barrel. That's probably its second or third.
That's
now,
what mine. I had a sub 500,000 years ago, and it was a 42 dated barrel.
Yeah.
So I mean, I fired it. So I was like, it's been rebarreled, so it's not going to blow up. I don't think.
Hold on. I'm not going to pull it off the wall, but I'm pretty sure that my.
But yeah, that's my opinion on it. It's like, and also my another part of that logic is Bubba exists, and Bubba likes cheap guns. And Bubba in the 50s and 60s loved the 1903 because it fired a common cartridge that was available. Yeah. And Bubba loved to cut these guns down. And Bubba loved to hand load ammunition that was probably not really consistent. And Bubba probably had a low number 1903. And Bubba probably didn't know that. And Bubba's probably put thousands of rounds to that fucking thing and killed plenty of game with it and not had an issue. And Bubba exists in a lot of the places in the U.S. So
the barrel on my 03 is dated 44.
Yeah, it's definitely well, you have an A3 though.
Of course, it's Remington. Remington 5 of 44.
Yeah, that's very common for those. But yeah, like the 03s that were basically rebarreled, because again, the 03 was used, especially by the Navy, through the fucking Korean War. And it's like, to me, I think it's bullshit. I think that in any sort of weapons manufacturing, if you count a couple failures as the norm, you're an idiot, because I don't give a shit how good your quality control is. Things can go wrong, especially when you're mass producing shit. You know, and yeah, okay, I get it. It's a psychological effect. If you tell the soldiers that are using this thing that one of these blew up and really fucked up the guy's face, well, okay, but again, that's how shit myths start, you know. And
going back to what you were just talking about earlier, what do you think is the last weapon of World War II they retired? Like still being issued. I want to say it was besides the 1911, I think it was the grease gun.
The U.S.
Yeah, I know the National Guard was still using the grease gun in the 1980s.
The 1990s, they were still issued in M60 or M60
and 113s.
Yeah,
because our unit was a grease gun. Yep, our unit was a mech unit until 1999.
Yeah,
and then they got turned into a light infantry brigade.
Yep.
And my dad joined in 98, so he got at the very end of the mech era.
2002. It was 2002.
Yeah, but they started getting rid of their Bradleys and their 113s in 99 because my dad was in the unit at that point. And
Dan's right. We still use the M2, but the last one to be retired, I'm assuming, would be either. I think they had to be the M3 because the 1911.
I think it was the M3A1.
Yeah, because the M3 or the 1911 was replaced by the M9, so I'm assuming the M3.
It's got to be the M3 because they were in the early 2000s. They were still in cages around.
Yeah, they had mounts in the vehicle.
My squad leader on my first deployment when he first got into the Wisconsin Guard, he had a grease gun.
Yep.
So, and he was an
Yeah.
E6 in 2005.
Yeah, so the late 90s, I know they had them because my dad said they had them, and he joined the
Yep.
unit in 98. So but yeah, so that, I mean, the M3 is a fucking fantastic submachine gun.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the best.
Yep. It's
I really wish somebody would reproduce the M3 as a semi.
it would not cost that much.
No.
They didn't cost that much to make them brand new.
Right.
I mean,
They're like-
would it
yeah.
be a copyright issue or something?
Well, also, like, I've never like fucked around with one. Really, do they have a fixed firing pin like a lot of open bolts do?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a hard thing to
Open
get
bolt.
around.
Not really.
I know. No, but like to redesign the bolt, you'd have to have a floating. Well, yeah, you can make an open bolt semi, but that fucking sucks.
No, I mean you'd have to make it closed bolt.
Yeah, but then
You
you'd have to
could
redesign the
probably
you'd have
Yes,
to redesign
no.
the bolt to have a floating firing pin in there. Then
Yeah.
you have to drill
Yeah,
that's-
it
not
would
too
have
hard,
to.
though.
They basically had to turn them into hammer fire because the
Yeah.
ATF
and that would be bad. I
the
mean,
ATF
you just have the cock
rules say
handle.
it
where you
can't
pull
be
it, let
it can't
go.
be readily. That's not the M3A1. That's just the M3 that
That's
had
what
the
I said.
lever.
The M3. Because that
Yeah,
would the only bad part about that is they would flood the reenacting community with M3s. Like every swinging dick would be like, "Oh look, pre D-Day."
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Everybody would be the chin.
I'm
chin?
gonna look
You
that up.
no, you
I
don't
want
have the
to.
chin. Oh,
I know. When did they start making the M3A1?
At the end, it was like 1944.
It was that late in the war. Holy shit!
Yeah.
December 1944.
Yep.
I didn't think it was that late in the war. I thought they started making the A1 earlier.
No,
the
they
A1
would
they got rid of
field
that.
modify the M3s, and then they actually started manufacturing the A1. Then
Yeah, because the A1 got rid of the stupid cocking lever.
Yep. Yeah, guys would take the fucking guys in the field would cut a strip out of the receiver, the tube, and then they would like weld a shilly weld like a
Charging, yeah.
bolt under the actual, or like a charging handle onto the actual bolt. But no, it's a fucking. I think for its purpose, that's a far superior submachine gun to the Thompson. Fucking
yeah.
far
Yeah.
superior.
Yeah.
It was far more controllable.
more ergonomic too. Like the Thompson, like you're holding
It's-
like this, not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
I've
Thompson's
held-
fucking heavy.
So
Oh my
sure it
god,
is.
the Thompson is stupid heavy. For what it is stupid heavy,
Yep.
Yes.
and it's all in the stock.
Yeah.
Reduced variant.
So this is the chin. He would show up and like, yeah, that's all he does right there. That's all
Oh
he
my
does.
god.
And sometimes he'll show up to an event. Yeah, HBTs with a tie on.
Oh god. Oh fucking FJ with a 44. I love it. Yeah.
But yeah, there is there's a group
Oh
on
my god.
There's a group on Facebook called the Secret Order of the Chin. And yeah, this is a here.
God damn.
Hail the chin. All hail the chin.
The M3A1 was being used as a backup weapon for armored vehicle crews as late as the Gulf War.
He's using the mortar or a bazooka bag chest rig as his magazines. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh my god. This is
It's
this is the fucking hobby. This is so we ended on a good note on our previous conversation at the beginning of this. We ended on a really good note with reenacting, like, hey, it's really cool. We talked about the positive things. Now we're getting into the part where it's like, yeah, I was getting nostalgic and I'm like, fuck, I kind of miss it. Now I'm like, guys like that. There was this dude in World War One.
well, see, he just shows up. He just shows up by himself. He doesn't.
That's what this guy would do. And this guy,
Yeah.
this guy, so for World War One, he would show up by himself, and he had World War II. This is fucking great. You're gonna love this. He had World War II sergeant chevrons, staff sergeant chevrons on his fucking service coat, right?
Hell
A 28th Infantry Division or 28th Division Bloody Bucket patch, which they didn't fucking wear until post armistice. Well, there was one memoir where one fucking company in the 28th at the end of the Meuse-Argonne offensive, like 3 or 4 days before the armistice, said they put on patches. So that's what he did. He looked for the exception and went with that. Anyway, so he shows up and all he carries is a 1911. And he's got like a Boy Scout backpack that he wears.
Oh yeah.
And he basically does this and he starts screaming at people to fucking go do shit. And then he'll jump out of the trench and like scream at people to go. And he never dies. And people are like, who the fuck are you? And he's just a fucking idiot. And then I told him back in the day, I'm like, yeah, your pack is really not good. I'm like, what is that? And he was like, oh, it's a fucking this, a private purchase. I'm like, no. Like, you show me an original fucking picture of a guy on the front in World War I, even a guy not in the front, on the rear, wearing a private purchase Boy Scout backpack in the First World War, and I'll give you $100. Nobody can do that, I guarantee you, because it didn't happen. It's like, dude, no. And he's like, well, it was my grandfather's or my great grandfather's. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He got it post-war, guaranteed. But yeah, he would show up to those events. I still remember his name too. He's a fucking asshole. He was in the Air Force, and he was a combat veteran apparently. Just ask him, even though he never deployed.
So this is a meme, but it's legit. So the whole thing is it's called the Crimson Chin from like that cartoon.
Yeah, it's the
Fairly Odd Parents.
Fairly Odd Parents, yeah.
So it's the Crimson Chin. So the meme was the chin air support.
Oh,
this is legit, bro. This is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's badass.
Fuck yeah. Hit the flash.
I mean, it's 45 from an airplane, but still.
Yeah,
well, hey, you're
it's
shooting
a
down, it
Piper.
just falls. They'll pick up velocity at least.
It's a Piper Cub too.
Yeah.
There was actually somebody. There was actually an Air
I think
Force
the glasses
pilot.
came up with that. He was like, "Look, this is a pretty good idea, guys."
In World War II, there was actually a Piper Cub pilot who strapped bazookas, bolted bazookas to the wings of his Piper Cub, and actually used it for close air support in World War II.
Yeah.
Those things only hold 2 people.
They're
also,
super
it
light.
holds
They're
one
quiet.
fucking round. Like,
Huh?
The bazooka only holds one round, and you're not gonna get out on the wing to reload it.
He had 3 of them on each wing.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I'm not
kidding.
The first round is your spotter round.
Spotter round.
Yeah. Yep. He had
Boom,
3 of
all
he had
right.
3 of them on
Just-
each wing, and he had them wired into a trigger on the yoke.
What a fucking retard! I love it.
It worked. It fucking
Well,
worked.
I mean, a bazooka round's really not that. It's a very large hand grenade.
Yeah, you've got to hit perfect. You've got to
Yeah.
hit like you can't do much of splash damage with it. Like compared to a
I mean, I
tank.
suppose if you got an angle on a pillbox or some shit, it'd be nice because
yeah.
the shape charge would go through. But
Or
again,
if
hard
somebody
to
with a
see.
rifle is shooting at you.
Yeah, you're gonna have pinpoint accuracy with that fucking thing.
Do you want a bazooka fired at you?
No,
In your general
that's not
vicinity?
that's not the point.
That was the whole point of mounting bazookas to it.
To shoot one guy. No, it was probably for fucking like crowd control and bunker clearance. You're not gonna. Oh, that guy's got a rifle and is shooting at me standing out in the open because this is a movie, and I got a clear line of sight on him. No, it fucking. Well, it'd also be good. Like, well, but here's the thing: is usually where there's vehicles, there's a lot of guys. So if you see
His
a
name, John B in chat said his name was Charles Carpenter.
Jesus.
Yep.
Bibbidi-bob.
I'll share the wiki link in private chat.
Speaking of that, did y'all see the rockets they attached? I don't think they ever fielded it, but they test tried it a bunch. They attached rockets to the rear of the B-25 to attack fighters. Yeah, I watched a video on it the other day. It was pretty wild because the rockets had proximity fuses.
Oh, it was like flak.
Yeah, and
So
it,
it was like-
apparently it worked well. But by the time they were like, we should put these rockets on the rear, like it wasn't straight. They set up at an angle. But by the time they put them on, the air to air was not that big of a problem. It was flak.
Yeah.
So Charles Carpenter was credited during the Battle of Agincourt with knocking out a German armored car and 4 tanks with his L4 Grasshopper, which is basically a Piper Cub.
Yeah, nice.
So you got a fucking armored vehicle and 3 tanks?
4 tanks.
4 tanks. Jesus Christ, he only missed twice.
So
Yeah, he mounted the bazookas to the wing support struts.
Jesus
Right.
Christ.
so on that, Carbine Williams is so do we call it M1 Carbine or M1 Carbine?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't really, I'm not pedantic when it
Both-
comes to that.
both are correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say
I don't
carbine because it's
correct-
shorter.
I don't.
I
ca-
prefer
I don't.
carbine.
Yeah, I don't correct anybody. I say Carbine, but it's Carbine.
That's one of
Williams.
those that I don't give a fuck about. Like there's certain ones where I do care, but that's not one because it's like, yeah, either one is correct. But yeah.
It does to me. It does seem weird when somebody says Carbine.
Yeah,
Like, it
it's
just-
usually people from the south that I've noticed, like the deep southeast. Got my M1 carbine over here.
I've never heard anybody down here call it Carbine. It's always
Well, yeah.
Carbine.
I'm
Does
talking like
Carbine
down,
Williams.
so yeah.
Yeah. Guy created in prison. Carbine
Carbine.
Williams.
Yeah. That's another really, well, no, it's not underrated anymore. It used to be. The M1 carbine is a great little weapon.
I'd love to.
It
My
really
buddy
is.
has 2 M2s, and I want to fire one so damn bad.
Yeah, they're pretty effective. From what I heard,
Yeah.
like a lot of the guys in Vietnam, a lot of the unconventional guys, the really early ones, like in 64 and 65 and shit. Well, a lot of the advisors would carry M2s because they were so small, and you could just rip 30 fucking rounds off immediately.
I think that's what I've got. I've got a stock that's an M1A1 stock, but
Mhm.
it has a rear grip on the front, and you could tell when somebody's taking a knife and gutted it out to accept the M2.
Yeah,
So I don't know
yeah,
if
yeah.
it wasn't a Bubba job because it has an original rear grip on the front, and it looks like somebody in the field had chopped out.
Oh,
the-
dude,
the
they
M2.
modified the fuck. If you
Yeah.
look at all the M1, M2 carbines in Vietnam, a lot of those SOG guys, they would chop them down to this fucking big.
Yep.
And they'd have like a ghetto blaster just fucking right there. They do the same thing with, didn't we do that last week? We were talking about the M79 or some shit, or was that
Yeah.
what the fuck
Yep.
was it? Yeah,
Yep.
that they would chop down. So
Yep.
they just
That
But,
and the
yeah.
RPD as well.
hmm The RPD, is
RPD and
cool.
blue jeans. RPD and blue jeans, baby.
That's a cool gun. The RPD.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vietnam is fucking insane. I was just talking with Brian today a little bit, trying to get a FJ helmet authenticated, and thank God I did that because he put me in the direction of somebody that would know if it was a fake shell, and it was a okay fake, but I had some issues with it, and you get that feeling. So I was like, I just want to make sure this is legit, and it's not. So I just saved a bunch of fucking money. But anyway, so I was talking to Brian about Vietnam and shit, and like the rucksack that I've got. Oh, I can actually show that on camera. Cool. We'll grab that really
Yeah,
quick.
because it's not a firearm.
Yep.
Oh my
So-
God, we're gonna die.
Again, this is just the bare bones. I got a bunch of shit I'm gonna add to it as time goes on, but this is actually a pretty slick setup, man. That's pretty fun.
What's the pouch at the top with
That's the butt
with
pack.
flap?
That's the ass pack.
That's the butt pack.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this is how 9th ID would roll because they didn't do a lot of
Wow.
they were out there for a day or 2 tops.
yeah.
Wow.
And they were running really light, and they would just do like canal patrols and like rice paddy shit. They would just go out there and kind of do a presence patrol. And so they didn't really, a lot of the guys, I was reading a bunch of shit recently since this whole thing came up. A lot of the 9th ID veterans, they'll straight up tell you, they'll be like, yeah, we did not carry fuck all. Like there's guys that said they didn't even wear ammo pouches on their belt. They would just strap bandos across their chest, like one on top of the other, tie them around and like into the suspenders. And they said, yeah, we didn't use the pouches so we could lay down flatter if we needed to. And they said also that pretty much from their chest on down was usually completely covered in mud because they were down in the Delta. That's where the 9th ID operated. They were down in the Mekong Delta, and they were kind of in charge of securing the area in the Delta up to Saigon kind of this area. Then they went into Cambodia eventually, and then you're going to see a little bit more lightweight rucks, like the actual pack when they were doing that. But most of the time they were just carrying this. And if they had a frame, if they could get a frame, this is how a lot of the guys would do that. So they carry extra ammo and shit. But they said that they would put the butt pack on here because then you could just drop it and you'd have to carry it on your fucking belt so you could lay down and you wouldn't have more shit, slogging you down if you had to move around. And they just traveled really freaking light. So that's pretty cool.
I
And
wish the modern army would figure that fucking shit out.
well, here's the thing: is there was an SOP until you got out in the field.
Yeah.
And then like he said that a bunch of these 9th ID guys were like, the SOP was so fucking scattered in that division. Like it was just whatever your platoon or company level said is what you did. And they said they scrounged for shit. Oh, it's cute. What do you got there?
The
That
double
looks like
bag.
a Civil War pack.
Yep. The tar paper shit or the tar canvas.
Yep. 2
Yeah.
bags, and then you can put all your shit in here. Like this is the poncho / blanket
Yep.
or cover. But yeah, very uncomfortable because it's just got the 2 straps.
Oh yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fucking 19th century pack. They're fucking terrible.
It sets like low on your back. Like they did not figure, higher better.
Yeah,
So
the balance.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's the fucking 19th century packs are terrible. And then I bitched about the 1910 pack in my case, but the 28 pack, dude,
Yeah, not much
that
better.
fucking thing barely, like I can barely get my fucking arms through those straps. And it's just like this tiny little piece of shit that just restricts movement and all that stuff.
But,
And when I have
but
the pack
apparently,
deal on it,
but apparently everybody that got the ass jack, the assault jacket, went away from that and went back to the 28 pack. I mean, I get it. It's
well, yeah, the
has
assault
a
jacket was
layer.
a piece of shit.
It was layered. It was another
Right.
layer of heat and everything. When it got wet, it got heavy as shit. But
Right.
you think we go from that, we'll go from the 28 pack, 1910 28 pack to
Yeah.
that. And then like we don't like that. So we'll go back to something more ergonomical like the pack you just had. Now we're right back to it. Combat cover, play carry and shit.
Yeah, well, and
It's kind of funny how that recycles.
Well, when I got in, we still had Alice packs in basic, which was fucking cool because I love the Alice pack.
I can fit so
I
much
think
shit
we
in a
do
large
too.
ruck. In a large
Yeah,
Alice
and
ruck.
so we had Alice packs, and I got to my unit, and we got a bunch of new shit because we were deploying. And my first drill was SRP, so it was like, okay, we're getting all of our new equipment, everything for deployment, and we got the Molly 2 rucks. And I'm like, oh, this is cute, this is cool. It seems like it's gonna be comfortable. First fucking ruck march I did with that thing, I'm like, fuck this. I want my Alice pack back.
That's the big one, right?
The
I
big
don't think
fucking-
I don't think I ever did a fucking ruck with the Molly.
I
We
didn't
did-
mind that bad. It kind of set different, but
wasn't
I don't think it's
balanced.
worst.
That's the problem. Is it wasn't.
It
wasn't.
did
fucking,
feel like it. Yeah, it did feel like.
and
it
I've
was
got like
down.
weird balance things. Like I'm very top heavy. And the Alice pack, it's like you hike that fucker into the center of your back, upwards a little bit. You suck it into your shoulders, and it doesn't move. It's there. It's part of your body.
That is
That
true.
fucking
Yeah.
that Molly pack would slide and it would move. And if you didn't have everything perfectly weighted,
And you had to
packed,
use
right?
the waist strap.
Right. Yeah. And I'm just like, fuck this. And it was
I-
just awful.
I don't think I ever used the Molly ruck for more than just moving from one location to another. I don't think I ever used it for a field op or anything.
In Texas, we started doing them with WAS for that Baton Death March thing, training for that.
Mm-hmm. That I
we-
didn't get to go on because Mockler didn't let me because I wasn't
Yeah.
passing my fucking PT test.
Yeah, fucking idiot. But no, so WAS, we would go out there, and our first one that we did was 6 miles with it at McGregor, and I'm like, fuck this. Like this sucks. And I think I did 12 in it one time, and I was like, we're done. I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, that was that. And then yeah, the rest of the time it was just literally move from one place to the other. I avoided that thing at all costs.
Yeah, I don't think I ever lived out of it, even for a bivouac.
Oh, we didn't at AT
like-
in 2011. Yeah, never mind. I take that back. So we did rock with that for that AT, but that was the only other time that I had to use it for that. And it had as much room as the large Alice, but it didn't pack shit in tight. It was fucking difficult to. It was just not a good ruck.
They actually had more internal volume in the Alice.
Yep.
But the bottom part was for the sleeping bag.
I know, which you can never get it tight enough, and then it threw all the fucking balance off, and then it was just weird. First, and then I used it, and it was like this sucks.
Yeah, it's like I would rather not have a sleeping bag and have a large Alice ruck than that Molly ruck.
Oh, we saw this picture. Yeah, somebody posted this in the Discord, and I saw it on Facebook. This is a fun one.
I forgot. I saw it years ago, and then I kept trying to show my British friend.
Oh yeah, the British Corsair.
Well, you got
there's six. You got 5 or 6 different planes. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the Spitfire, Corsair, Hellcat, and that looks like a Mosquito, I think. Yeah. And there's another one, but I can't remember which ones are which because I can't. Well, can I zoom in? No.
The one straight ahead pointing at the camera looks like it might.
Oh,
be
boy,
a
I think
Hurricane.
No, I think that's a P-40. Well, yeah, it might be a Hurricane, yeah, because the wings are flat. It's either that or it's probably a P-40 Warhawk.
Could also be a Typhoon. Could also be a Hawker Typhoon.
You're a hawker.
No, because I don't.
You wish I was.
Maybe. No, I don't see the intake under the.
The cooler.
Yeah.
The radiator.
Well, yeah, early war too, because the discs.
Can't. Yeah. No, look at the ones on the planes on the sides. They have the yellow circles.
Yeah.
So it can't be too early because of the presence of the Corsair. So that's got to be like 43.
So I think somebody was telling me they believed it was a training organization where they get pilots in planes and try different things.
The interesting thing is that the U.S. Navy didn't want the Corsair because they couldn't figure out how to land it on their aircraft carriers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the British had to teach them. It's true. The Americans learned how to land the Corsair on aircraft carriers from the British. It was developed. The Corsair was built for the U.S. Navy, and it was well, the fucking nose on those things is 1.5 miles long.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's got the gull wings, because the prop and everything. They needed the wings to sit lower than the engine.
And that was more to shorten the landing gear legs.
Yeah. Yeah, you could use. Apparently, you could use the landing gear as air brakes.
Dive brakes. Yep.
Cute.
Yep. It was supposed to be a basically a dual aircraft. It was supposed to replace the torpedo bombers. It was supposed to replace the dive bombers and the air superiority fighters. And it was capable of doing all those jobs. It's just it didn't because there was so many contracts that were already out there. And then the Navy kept hanging on to the SPD Dauntless dive bombers for most of the war because nobody wanted the replacement. Everybody's like, well, the Dauntless works. It's not the best plane. It's slow, but it works.
This fucking guy just comments on one of my videos about I had a poll like 2 years ago, and then I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is just fucking funny. It's happening in real time about the best helmet of World War II or whatever, and then I explained my opinion on it. I just threw in some snarky like jokes and shit. He goes, "So you did a poll and then scolded your audience for not being informed." I'm like, if you call that scolding, your parents created a pussy. We'll see how long that takes till I get reported.
Oh, that's great. It's fucking great.
Yeah, fucking the comments just never cease to amaze me how stupid people are.
I'm surprised that you even have it turned on.
I didn't for a few years, but then I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Like, a lot of like the actual decent people on YouTube, it's kind of a self-policing comment section. Like, if somebody's blatantly stupid, they'll just get dogpiled by people that are like, shut the fuck up. It's like, yep, you guys have that.
Gives you a little bit of faith in humanity.
Little bit, and then somebody says something stupid again, and it's like we repeat the cycle. And like, the dumbest thing mankind could have done is give a voice to everybody in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, again, these people are usually the ones in history that would have been cast off to the side in their local communities and just kind of told to shut the fuck up and shunned, and then live out their life alone and quiet and not bothering people.
Doing odd jobs around town just to survive.
Now they comment on the internet.
Yep.
And
they dress up like animals and go to Comic Cons.
Well, I mean, that's really no different than what reenactors do. It's just a different uniform. It's
Costume.
really no different. Yeah, costume. Yeah. I like your costume. That's another one for fucking reenacting. Your costume is great. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. When I shared one to another group today, for some reason I follow this. I think it was one of those like, oh, whatever, I'll just accept it. But there's like a Pakistani dude who makes like Civil War uniforms, and they're
none of
they're
them.
They're god. I think
dude,
picture.
I have a fucking disclaimer on my website, and I still get a million fucking cold emails from those Pakian Indian fucks all the time. I say, if you're from China or any other shithole, China, billions and 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 billions.
Ah, shit! I should have. Fuck it! I don't really care.
Oh yeah. There's so many of those Paki fucks. Like, I've been working with Indians and Pakis for like years. And I stopped working with Indians because they're so fucking unreliable. So
buttons are wrong. They're misaligned. The biggest negligence is the collar rank is reversed. See how it doesn't go with the
right? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it does not go with. This goes at an angle, and it's the opposite angle. So this.
And here's the thing about Pakis and Indians: they want to just move shit. They don't give a fuck if it's accurate. They just want to move shit, and they'll put out subpar shit, and then bitch at you.
Yeah, and he's put his damn tag on it too. God.
Yeah, no, I stopped dealing with them because they just produce garbage, and they don't give a fuck about it. And I'm like, well, I'll figure out things and people that. There's one Indian dude that I still actually work with, and he makes the pickle houses, right? And it took me years, but he gets them done fucking well. And he actually took my corrections and made them happen.
Good.
I was like, yeah, hey, the buckles need to be thinner. Here's an original. Okay, got it. The fucking split pins on top need to be more flush to the top. Perfect, did that. There needs to be holes in the bottom of the spike. Perfect, did that. And we were working on the back fin, but I don't expect him to do that because they'd have to fucking get a bunch of parts. I'm like, for now, this is good to go. We're good to go. And that's the only guy that I deal with.
I wish somebody does he make brass stuff? Because we need a lot of brass stuff made for Civil War items that we were making, like hooks and buttons and cleats and stuff.
Here, I'll send you.
All right,
I'll send you his name on there. He's just a dude, but he.
Because I'd like to get a Kibler pack made. I'll see if I can get a picture real quick.
Well, guys, I am gonna go because I gotta get up at 3:30.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I suppose we can just end this, and then Trey, I'll send you his shit. But all right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll probably see you next Friday or something like that.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Have a good night.
And stream.